Hello, everybody. Let me get this set up. Bloop, bloop, bloop. Copy. Right now, let me know if you can hear me okay. Can you hear my voice? Am I too quiet? Am I too loud? So make sure to elbow smash that like button.
What's up?
Hello!
Are we live? Are we live on YouTube?
I can't hear you.
Are we live on YouTube? No volume?
I still can't hear you.
You should be able to. Okay.
Oh, Brian can hear you, but I can't hear you. Let me see if I'm doing something wrong. I might need to put in plug-in headphones. I tried using my wireless ones.
You hear me now? Nope.
Say something again. Let me see if I can hear you.
Can you hear me now? Check, check.
Yes,
check.
I can hear you. Awesome.
Okay.
Okay.
I tweeted this guy the link. I don't know if he's able to come in. Yesterday, Nick had to email the guy the link because he also just downloaded Google Hangouts. So you might have to email it to him or something. I don't know how Nick did it yesterday. Is Nick in the chat there?
Let me go check.
Oh, there he is.
All right,
Never
what's
mind.
up?
What's up, Chris, right?
Yep. Everyone can hear me, right?
Yeah. I'm just sharing this video here, so just give me a sec.
All right.
I accidentally unplugged my earbuds again, so I have to figure it out. Ah. 1 second, I'll mute and take off my camera, and I'll be right back.
All right.
Okay. It's better to wait till a couple of viewers get in here first anyways.
Yeah, no rush.
Okay.
How do I send this link
This
to
is
people? Sorry to interrupt.
how do you send it? Do you have like YouTube open in a different window?
Yeah, I have it open on my phone right now.
Okay, so I'll send you the link on Twitter, and then you could just share that video. Okay, just give me 1 sec here. Okay, direct message. There it is.
Good again.
Share that link that I just sent you there on Twitter.
All right, cool. Thank you.
Don't share the Google Hangouts link though, because then people will just jump in the chat.
Oh yeah, no, that'd be stupid.
I hope you guys like these pajamas. I got them for Christmas.
Yeah, I got this for Christmas too. Hoodies. Who we got in the chat here? What's up, Michael? What's up, Alex? Beep Boop. Who the heck is Beep Boop?
Oh,
up,
Beep
Kearney?
Boop is a new viewer of mine.
Byron. Oh, what's up, Sean? All right, so we ready? Did you share it yet?
Yep. All right, so I got a couple topics down here that we can discuss. You could start with any one of them if you want.
Okay, how about you just tell people about like your diet that you're promoting first off. Like, what do you think the optimal diet is?
So I eat like a raw omnivorous diet. Mostly, sometimes I'll have cooked foods, but I pretty much have raw foods of all kinds. I don't really have that much vegetables, but I'll have like raw fruit, raw honey, raw meat. Occasionally eggs, not really that much. I'll have raw milk and like raw butter and stuff like that.
What's the thinking behind it? Like, why are you doing that?
Just for optimal nutrient density.
So, like, you just believe like cooking the food takes the nutrients out of it?
Well, it makes it less digestible. So essentially you're getting less nutrients out of it in some cases, but not in all cases. With vegetables, you're breaking down the cellulose and you're getting more out of it.
Okay. I actually would agree with that, cooking food. Well, I think cooking food not only takes away like nutrients from it, like they get cooked out of it, also it changes the food into something like you're not adapted to eating as well, and it also dehydrates it. And
yeah, I would agree with that too. And also can form toxic compounds like acrylamides and stuff like that.
Yeah, like, and if you overcook it, then you get carcinogens and stuff once it starts turning black.
Yeah, exactly.
So is there a name for your diet or anything? Is it the Primal diet?
I mean, the Primal diet is kind of like on an individual basis. It's just what works for certain people. There's not really like this is the Primal diet, this is what you follow. It's kind of just, and those are the foods that work for me.
Okay. It's kind of just like the raw everything. Like everything's raw.
Pretty much, yeah. Except like raw greens and stuff like that, since they're really indigestible.
Okay. Well, for me, my diet, I would think that is most optimal would be majority fruit, like say around 70-75% fruit. It's hard to judge exactly how much you're eating, but then raw vegetables too, and a little bit of raw nuts or seeds. Green leafy vegetables, of course. people don't get B12 like they used to. Like people used to be just, covered in dirt and have bacteria all over their food and themselves and everything. And they would have a lot more B12, and people also got a lot more sunlight. And especially, that now that people migrated to different areas of the world, they don't get enough sunlight. So I think the only things that people should supplement with, whether you're a vegan or a meat eater, would be B12 and D. Everything else, I don't think you need to supplement for.
Well, if you're eating raw
and
meat, you're going to be getting plenty of B12, especially stuff like liver, available, and it digests
well,
like super easily.
yeah, I mean, we could get into that in a second, but like,
Yeah.
I just want to finish what I was saying about my diet too. Also, I feel like because of today's society, like when you go out to a party or like when you go out with family, when you go out anywhere, right, you're pretty limited to like, say you go to a restaurant, you can't be like, bring me a fruit platter, right? So it's
Yeah.
like, once
I
in a
used to
blue
do
moon,
like
you
that
got,
whole fruit kind of thing, and that was difficult.
yeah. So once in a blue moon, like you can have like, a starch meal or something like that. But I also, I don't say like, oh, live a little, like you should have animal products, because that becomes cruel, and then I believe it's also bad for the environment and extremely unhealthy. I believe animal products are probably the most unhealthy thing that you could have, besides
Hmm.
drinking poison or something. So that's where we would disagree. Definitely is on the animal products.
So you follow like a frugivorous kind of approach because do you think that's how we're naturally designed, or?
Well, a couple of reasons. If you just look at your biology, if you look at just common sense, how people grew up, all in tropical areas or even just in the bush, like what's available, all sorts of plant life. People are attracted to colors. You taste carbohydrates. Like everything points in the direction that you're frugivores. Like even you're really close to monkeys, which are frugivores. Paleo days, they found fossilized feces that was, contained like 100 grams of fiber, which was showing that people were frugivores even in the paleo day, which people seem to think that paleo meant high meat diet, which it didn't. And there are tons of reasons. Like I go on forever. Like I've made 40-minute videos just going on and on about how just common sense leads to being a frugivore. And I believe that, people ate insects. I'm not saying that, monkeys eat insects and things like that.
Yeah,
And
that's
I
something I
believe
want to
people
get
just,
into.
they didn't purposefully, I don't think they purposefully ate insects. Maybe like in the really early days, like when
Yeah,
people
they
were
do
kind of
purposely
dumb,
eat
like,
insects. So they use sticks and they put the sticks in the ant holes, and a bunch of ants will come on the ant holes and they'll eat all the ants.
yeah, I could see that in a starving situation. And I could also see I could also see that in a, eating meat in a starving situation. Like every 2 weeks or so, or every month, people probably ate meat, depending on where you were. But I think they ate it so rarely that your body didn't adapt to it. I do believe that you probably are adapted to eating insects, though. And just like the B12, those are thoroughly washed off. But I had a backyard garden where I was growing kale last year, and I wasn't washing off my kale. What's the point of washing spiders and stuff down the sink when you could just
Yeah,
eat the
that's
kale? You know
that's
what I mean?
pointless. So
Yeah, you're just killing them.
I was
Yeah, go
actually
ahead.
just looking at this today with insects, and it says I can send you the study right now, actually, on Science Direct. Cholesterol is about 3.6% of the fat in insects. So, like, if you're some kind of primate living out in the wild, and let's say like 10 pounds of food a day, percent of that is insects. So you're getting around like of animal protein, and you're getting lots of cholesterol.
10% you said of your diet is insects? I've heard monkeys who live in the wild is only 3%.
No, I didn't say 10%. 10% of your diet is insects. I said 10%. Not 10%. I said 10 pounds of food per day.
Oh.
And then
It's hard to
2%
hear you because you're cutting out a little bit.
My bad.
Yeah, I missed like a word here and there because you're cutting out a little bit. So, sorry, 10 pounds of food, how much is insects?
Like 5 to 10%, depending on the primate and depending on where they live.
Okay. So what is the point of this? I kind of agree with you that humans should, like, that doesn't mean that you should be eating steaks, a little bit less insects.
Well, no, but the point I was making here is that it's about 3.6% cholesterol. So here in that study I sent you, it says that termites are around 50% fat. Was that study? No, I have another one. I'll send you that one too. That says that's a 50% fat. It's from the same.
I don't think people eat termites though. People aren't picking.
That's a big
thing. They're not
that,
monkeys, right? They're not picking termites off each other's backs.
That's a big thing that frugivores eat, and they go out of their way to eat it.
Yeah, but you're talking specifically like about monkeys now. Like humans, they're not picking termites off each other's backs. They're just eating the insects that are on plants, right?
I mean,
so unless your
can't
plants
say that
are covered
for sure.
with termites, well, I mean, nobody could say that for sure. Like, unless you can show me documentation of all these people picking termites off each other's backs, then that doesn't hold up either.
That makes sense. But my point here is that these frugivorous animals, so let's say they're eating 10 pounds a day, and then you times that by 0.02. It's 2%. That's a modest estimate.
Okay. So people eat insects. I agree with you. People eat a small amount of insects. I don't think it's as much as you're saying that they ate, because like I said, we're not picking bugs purposefully off people's backs and
humans here. I'm just saying frugivorous animals.
Okay. Yeah, I got you. Okay. So I mean, but if you're trying to say that therefore people should be eating meat which has way higher cholesterol than insects, that doesn't add up either.
Not necessarily. So
fish is going to have way more cholesterol than insects, right? Like you realize.
I don't know that for sure. Fish. I mean, 3.6% of the fat being cholesterol is a pretty high amount, and that study that I sent you shows that 50% of termites is fat. So if you eat, say, sorry, you're cutting out a lot too. Okay, let me try to use a different pair of headphones.
Yeah. Everybody hear it good on the stream. Leave a comment there.
Is it any better?
I don't know. I'm just waiting until somebody says on the stream here.
Do I sound any better now, though?
Yeah, well, I don't know. It's hard to tell until you start talking.
Okay. So, back to what I was saying. So, let's say there's around 50 grams of fat and 100 grams of sex. So, if you were to multiply that, I've got my calculator out right now.
You're kind of just picking like random numbers, though.
No, I'm just let me get to my point.
You're picking random numbers. Like you don't know for sure that that's how much humans ate.
I'm not saying this is how much
humans ate termites.
I'm not saying that this is humans ate. Let me finish.
Tell me about the study.
So, this is just a study on.
Okay.
I think it was how much insects ate, and it said 2 to 10%. But so just
2 to 10%.
10%, yes.
Okay, so like if you're going 2 to 10%, that's a wide range. And if people were still eating 2 to 10% of insect, what's the point? So they're meat to eat meat.
I can't hear you.
Yeah, I can't hear. This is a garbage connection here we got going. I don't know how we could fix this.
I don't know if it's on my side or your side. I think I'll hear you fine for a little bit and then you'll cut out.
Yeah, Blue, should we start a new Hangouts here or something? Andrew wants to know if there's raw meat on your microphone.
Probably not.
Guys, Chris, are you far from your router?
No.
You think that's the answer here to start a new Hangouts? Because it's really hard to hear even one sentence.
if we start a new
I guess we
Hangout,
could
does
start a
that
new
mean that we have to go to a new stream?
I don't know.
Ugh. Let me try to
Hear
figure this
perfectly
out.
fine, but it's kind of hard to talk when I can't hear half the sentence. Because I noticed in previous debates, people would be like, no, I don't agree. And then I hear like, I agree because I missed the first part. And then I totally misinterpret what they're saying.
Yeah, everybody in the chat is saying that it's on your side, Chris.
Okay, so maybe
now
I
they're
could go in a
saying
different
that I
room.
have to
That's better.
restart.
No, it's not better.
So if I I need to ask, the chat should tell me if I
I think you could just start a new Hangout. Nick does it all the time. When there's sound problems, Nick does it, and we just go right back in.
Okay. So I'll just set up. How do I set up a new one? All of this tech junk before I actually start streaming, so I don't embarrass.
We could just keep going. We could just keep going. It's just really
both
hard for me
fine
to hear.
now.
Yeah, I mean, we could keep trying. That's fine.
All right. So back to what I was saying.
Okay. You think you're gonna try that?
For example, if termites are 3.6% of their fat is cholesterol. So let's say that a chimp eats 4 ounces of insects in one day. So if you were to, that would be, then you would multiply that by 0.36, and you get 1.8 grams of cholesterol. So if they're eating 1.8 grams of cholesterol, that's like the recommended daily amount. And these are frugivorous animals.
Okay. I cut out a few words like I couldn't hear, but it's chimps, and they got 50% fat, grams of fat from it. Like what does that have to do with that?
Guys, I'm being told that we should turn off our cameras and turn the bandwidth to audio only. So maybe if we try that, the connection will be better.
Okay.
Okay.
Any better now? That's not what I was saying, though. What I was saying is that if the fat is 3.6% cholesterol, and they're consuming 50 grams of fat in a 4-ounce amount of insects, that's 1.8 grams of cholesterol per day.
Okay.
So they're consuming a lot of dietary cholesterol, and they're frugivorous animals, which do.
A lot of dietary cholesterol. So you're saying, but think about it this way, right? So you're saying that like on a raw primal diet or a raw paleo diet or all these things that all these people I'm debating are promoting, who are just high meat, steaks and raw liver and fish and eggs and all these things that you're naming. That is that's extremely high cholesterol. Bugs in comparison to that is absolutely nothing.
Do you have any proof of that?
Do I have any proof? Like, can you measure how much meat that you eat in a day? How much meat do you eat in a day?
It depends on the day, honestly.
Like,
it range from like
and
4 ounces
saying
to
that
down.
You're saying that 2% bugs and the other 98% whole plant foods is going to add up to the same amount of cholesterol as an entire meat diet. Now that
No, I'm just giving you an example. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that you're saying that frugivores are doing what we are, according to you, is they do best on vegan diet, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Insects. Yeah. Okay. It's not a lot of cholesterol, though. You're blowing it out of proportion.
That is a lot of cholesterol. That's about 6 eggs a day.
6 eggs a day is 2% bugs.
Well,
I don't even think that we ate 2% bugs. Like, I don't even know where you're getting this from. You're getting chimp statistics.
This was from Science Direct.
Yeah, and okay, and you're saying that monkeys though and other frugivores eat this much insects. I would
Not
say
necessarily
humans
what I'm
don't
saying.
purposefully eat. Well, I'm saying humans don't purposefully eat insects as much as monkeys do. So it wouldn't even be comparable. Like you're saying, oh, people used to eat ants in starving situations.
No, that's
They
not what
ate
I'm saying.
bugs when they were on plants.
I'm saying that the primates, which you say we are so close to, they are consuming the amount of cholesterol that is in 6 eggs every single day.
We're close to them, like as in we are not close to a cat, which is a carnivore, which is what you guys are trying to be.
Well, we do have traits that are like cats. Like our cecums are very small. And do you know what the cecum is for?
Explain to me how we're like cats. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so our cecum it's a small part in our intestines, which is meant for digesting cellulose. It holds bacteria to ferment the fibers of the plant.
Yeah, okay. We talked
And
about this
saturated
yesterday,
fats.
and the guy debated yesterday, and this is the thing that everybody brings up. I brought up 50 things that makes us closer to frugivores than cats. Like as in your jaw doesn't open like a cat or an alligator or a bear, and you could just chomp an animal. It's very small. Your teeth match up with a frugivore. You don't have big nails. Like nothing about you is carnivorous or even omnivorous, except for this one thing you guys try to bring up.
There are many things that
Is
are
that
omnivorous, though. Like we produce lipase, we produce trypsin, we produce pepsin, we produce hydrochloric acid, we produce protease. Can you hear me?
No. All I heard was hydrochloric acid.
Damn. I wish that I didn't have to keep repeating myself because it's kind of annoying.
I know. It is.
All right, well, let me try again. So we produce protease.
I'm hearing everything fine on my end.
I don't know. Maybe it's my
hearing everything fine that she's saying.
Okay. Maybe it's just me here. Hold on. Maybe I got too many things open.
Yeah, maybe you suck, Logan.
Maybe my wife's watching Netflix or something. It's just ruining my connection. Okay, go ahead.
Okay.
Say your piece there about.
My point is, we're producing lots of protein splitting enzymes. And if we were truly frugivorous animals, we wouldn't have that adaptation because fruit is just free amino acids. Where proteins,
you want me to name some things? Like you're naming like one or two things, right? Do you want me to name a bunch of things here?
I can't name 50 things at once. I'm just going as we're talking.
Okay, so let's talk about cholesterol because you were just bringing up cholesterol. So cholesterol, if you are a carnivore or an omnivore, right, you can metabolize large amounts efficiently. When you are a frugivore, you can only metabolize smaller amounts efficiently. So that goes hand in hand with what I was saying about bugs, right? You can handle small amounts like from bugs, but you can't handle large amounts from meat. There's a whole chart that's on
studies that show that we can't handle a lot of cholesterol.
Yeah, people have heart attacks and strokes. That's what shows that people can't handle.
Mean that they can't handle cholesterol. Do you know what the function of cholesterol is?
Well, cholesterol is created in your own body, and that's all the amount of cholesterol that you need. About like who knows more about exactly what this does and what this does on a cellular level and all this stuff.
You don't know what's going on the cellular level. Cholesterol.
The point is that when you add dietary cholesterol to your body, it causes atherosclerosis, and that only happens in herbivorous and frugivorous animals. So why is it happening to humans?
Not true. That's not true. If you can simply search up atherosclerosis or dogs getting atherosclerosis, it happens. And it happens when we're feeding them the shitty dog food. Feed them.
Well,
I don't know. Are you from America?
Vegan dogs? You know the longest living dogs are vegan dogs. They're not carnivores like cats, right?
That's an anecdote. You don't know how long wolves live in the wild.
Okay. Well, I don't get what you're saying here. So a dog can get atherosclerosis. That means, therefore, humans are carnivores.
Yes. No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is that you said that omnivores and carnivores don't get atherosclerosis, but they
Okay.
do.
All right. Well,
That's a
I
fallacy.
haven't looked into that, but I know that dogs do very well on a vegan diet, so maybe that has something to do with it.
It's possible, but I'm just saying they do get atherosclerosis.
Okay. Do you want me to name some more things here? So what about your nails?
What about them?
Well, they're not carnivorous nails. Look at them. They're for picking and peeling fruits.
Okay. So I'm not saying we're not designed to eat fruits. I am on board with eating fruit. But you can't deny that we've been using tools in evolution for millions of years. It's like that's just something that's
that doesn't mean
undeniable.
anything.
It does.
I just said that we probably caught animals. I'm not denying that we never ate meat either. I'm saying that it was rare and your body didn't adapt to it. And now that people are eating it frequently, they're dying.
All right. What I'm saying here is that we can use tools. We have our brain as a tool. Like a lion has its jaws and its claws as tools to rip open an animal. We have our brain to create tools. We've been doing this for millions of years. Millions of years is enough time.
No, because you didn't eat it frequently enough.
How do you know that? Why would we be
How do you
producing
know that?
protease and hydrochloric acid and trypsinogen and pepsinogen and all these protein-splitting enzymes in order to...
well, I know that because your entire body matches up with a frugivore. That's how I know that. There's nothing about it on this chart that says you match up with a carnivore except for this one thing that you're bringing up.
On the external traits, we are like frugivores. Are you familiar with Kleiber's law?
No.
No? Okay. So Kleiber's law is like a universal law around animals, discovered by some scientist, Kleiber or whatever. The total metabolic rate of an animal 4 times the 3/4 power, or might be divided by whatever, to their size. So it's essentially metabolic rate by the 3/4 power of mass. That ratio, on average, for an animal and for each individual organ, if the ratio is greater than 1, then that's an indicative sign larger than expected. And if it's smaller than 1, that it's lower than expected. So our brains are at like a 7.4 on this ratio.
Your brain runs on glycogen. Carnivores' brains run on fats and proteins. So I don't know what you're talking about.
Can run on fats too. Do you know what ketones are?
Do I know what ketones are? Like ketosis, right? The ketogenic diet. Is that what we're talking about now?
No, that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about as ketones as for the brain.
Okay. So the least efficient fuel source for your body is protein. You can use protein as an energy source.
I'm not talking about protein. I'm talking about ketones.
Okay, go ahead. So
I can send you a couple studies later if you want, but there's many evidence, lots of evidence, that sounds dumb, that ketones work really good for the brain, and they also have like for anti-seizures, for children with ADHD.
Does glycogen work really well for the brain?
Well, there's evidence that having too much glucose can cause oxidative damage in the brain.
Okay, too much protein, too much fats, and too much water, too much anything is bad. So does your brain run efficiently off of glucose? Like off of glycogen?
Well, it should be tightly regulated. It shouldn't be going up and down like crazy.
When somebody's running, what do you think the best energy source is for their body and their brain?
Glycogen and triglycerides. I agree with you. I'm not saying that fruit is bad.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that you don't need all these other things either. I'm just saying your brain runs off of glycogen. A carnivore or an omnivore's brain runs off of fats and proteins, and you're talking about other things. You're talking about ketones.
This is kind of off topic. Let me get back to Kleiber's law. So with Kleiber's law,
Off topic, but you didn't answer that though. A carnivore or an omnivore's brain runs off of fats and proteins.
Do you have any studies showing that?
Do I have? I mean, I could link 1,000 studies afterwards if you want to look at studies. But right now, would you agree that a carnivore or an omnivore's brain runs off fats and proteins?
Well, an omnivore eats plants. So if an omnivore is eating plants, their brain is also going to be running on glucose. And a carnivore, gluconeogenesis. So they're still using glucose.
Do you eat an omnivore diet, or you're saying you eat tons of all these things? Yeah, you're basically eating a carnivorous diet. So your argument is basically that your brain should be a carnivore's brain, right?
Not necessarily. And what I'm saying here is that our brains require much more energy than other animals because our proportion of our brain and its energy usage is much higher than any other animal. And there's tons of evidence showing that. So we need energy-dense foods, and the most energy-dense foods is fats.
Well, your muscles, and it's been proven a billion times over and over again, just in sports nutrition. Like if you ever watched the Olympics or like learned about sports, your body does not run most efficiently off of fats. Your body runs most efficiently off of carbs. I don't know how you can't see this. Like, why do you think marathoners have Gatorade and gels and they're not downing animal fat?
There are plenty of marathon runners who eat a ketogenic diet.
Okay, plenty of marathon runners that eat a...
There's plenty of marathon runners who eat McDonald's every day. That doesn't mean anything.
Well, I mean, also, you're not going to find elite runners like in the winning in comparison that are on ketogenic diets
whatsoever.
I mean, I could. There's probably a rare. I mean, I have to look into that. There's probably a rare case where somebody has a high-fat diet. That's a marathon runner.
Yeah. So,
and he's probably some freak. He's probably some freak that's able to do it for some reason. But that doesn't prove that, like, you know, the other 99% in all the studies that show that carbohydrates are the most efficient, and these people are just, you know, like, just think about it. Like, why do people drink sports drinks with like Gatorades and Powerades? Why aren't they fat drinks? It makes no sense.
Because they need to replenish their electrolytes.
And your muscle glycogen.
And when you're sweating, you're getting rid of lots of sodium, potassium, and magnesium. And they want to replenish that.
So what are your muscles aren't made of muscle glycogen, and they don't get depleted of muscle glycogen when you're working out?
That is so irrelevant to what I'm saying, though. What I'm saying is that our brains require.
It's not irrelevant. Oh, no, you always do that. You change the subject as soon as I mention something relevant, you go to change the subject.
No. How is
does your muscle glycogen does your muscle glycogen not get depleted when you're working out?
The brain right now.
And your brain runs off of glycogen. So when you drink a sports drink that has carbs in it, it replenishes your muscle glycogen, which you need to work out with, which you need for energy. And then you change the subject.
And you can also use fat. What I'm talking about is the amount of energy that our brains need to use. And our brains need much more energy
glycogen
than, for example, a chimpanzee who is running off of fruit. So there was clearly some sort of evolutionary shift between the primates we are today and the frugivorous primates that are living in tropical areas now. Because we didn't just randomly get brains that are 7 times normal size in proportion to our body.
So you're one of those guys that thinks it's easier to catch an animal than it is to eat a piece of fruit. Like, you think people were eating more animals than they were picking plants.
That's not what I'm saying.
Like, think about that. Think about that.
I'm saying
think about how easy it is to pick a plant.
I'm not saying it's not easy to pick a plant. It is.
And it's hard to catch an animal. So which one were they doing more of, you think, just by common sense?
Still plenty of chimps eating the diet you're saying right now out there, and their brain isn't getting 7 times the size that it should be.
Okay, they're not cooking tubers either, though.
They're not.
Which are starchy foods that turn into sugar.
So you think that our evolution was based off of starch?
It's a combination of cooking foods, right? Like there was meat involved, but it was mostly like tubers and things like that. It was just basically, people learned how to consume way more calories from cooking. There's probably a few other things involved, but
you don't think that
would probably be the main
very
factor.
energy dense fats played a big role in providing energy for humans?
Well, they show that your brain is like 60% glucose or whatever, so it's obviously not from fats.
Glucose. Do you have any evidence that it's 60% glucose?
Well, I mean, I have to, like, again, I can't just Google study after study just throwing them at you during this live stream.
It's like you could say anything. Like you could say that
on
it's 60% glucose. I could say it's 60% cholesterol. So it's like, if you don't have anything to back it up, then
I could say it's 60% acid and water. Like,
water?
Your brain runs off glycogen, okay? Like, I don't know how you could disagree with that.
I'm not disagreeing with that. It's a tightly regulated amount, though. It's not high amounts. Like, when you eat a large amount of sugar in one sitting, your blood sugar spikes.
So when you're looking around, right, you see colors. When you're an omnivore or a carnivore, you don't see in full color like humans do. Why do you think that is?
I'm not saying we're exactly omnivores or exactly carnivores. I'm not saying we're exactly frugivores or herbivores. We're kind of our own animal that has shifted off.
Do adaptions just come for no reason, though? Like you're appealing to this one cellulose thing in your stomach, but then when I'm naming these things, you go, well, nah, not a big deal. They just happen. You there? I can't hear you.
Yeah, I'm here. So what exactly is the topic that we're discussing right now? Can we clarify this?
Yeah, we should clarify. Are you talking about what the brain runs on?
Well, we just talked about what the brain runs on, and we were also talking about how you can see bright colors, and an omnivore or a carnivore can't. Why is that? Maybe because we're frugivores.
And someone pointed out earlier in the comments that carnivores and omnivores can develop atherosclerosis, but only if they have a thyroid issue or if their thyroid gland is removed.
Or if they're fed lots of starch.
Non-species appropriate diet.
Exactly. Yeah.
That would probably make sense because, why would an omnivore be eating a bunch of potatoes and stuff or pasta?
Okay, so my point that we were making is that in order for our brains to have developed to what they are today, we would have needed very energy-dense foods. So, for example, like cracking open the bone marrow, you're getting thousands of calories at once. Tubers could have been a part too, but there's lots of calories. There's much more calories per gram in bone marrow than there is in tubers or brains and stuff like that.
Okay.
And there's lots of evidence that we cracked open.
There's more calories in one thing, so that means that it's not the other thing because this one thing has more calories. That doesn't really add up as a good argument.
My point
people always like to say beef liver has more nutrients in it per whatever, so that means it's good for you. Well, how about the damage it does to your body?
What evidence?
How about the damage it does to your body? It doesn't matter if there's more nutrients in something if it kills you.
What evidence do you have that eating raw liver does damage to your body?
Yeah, there's cholesterol in it. There's saturated fats. There's lack of fiber. There's all sorts of problems with it.
There's no evidence that cholesterol and saturated fat cause heart disease. And even the American Clinical Journal of Nutrition has taken cholesterol out of the picture for the dietary guidelines, saying that it is not a nutrient of concern.
Do you know why eggs aren't allowed to advertise on TV?
Plenty of evidence.
Do you know why eggs aren't allowed to advertise on TV?
I've heard that, but that's off of the premise, off of the hypothesis that cholesterol and saturated fat cause heart disease.
No, it's because they got sued because they were putting out false information. They had a whole bunch of people on the egg board that were on the study, and they made a study that said 6 eggs a day was fine for you. And they took people with really high cholesterol and they fed them 6 eggs a day, and their cholesterol either got better or it stayed the same. And they said, well, therefore that proves that cholesterol isn't bad for you. It's actually good for you. But they took people with really high cholesterol. And if you took a vegan or somebody with low cholesterol and you gave them 6 eggs a day, their bad cholesterol would go through the roof. So it goes up on a hyperbolic curve. So this doctors sued them in a court of law, and it was determined that they were falsifying that study. And now they are no longer able to say in egg commercials that eggs are healthy for you because of the amount of cholesterol. They contain the same amount of cholesterol as a Big Mac or a sausage McMuffin.
But you can't say they can make all the fake studies they want. The fake studies happen all the time.
Okay, so if it was fake,
I'm not saying that what you're saying is fake. I agree with you. What I'm saying is that many studies will manipulate the data. That's not like a controversial thing. Like, for example,
okay, so if you're a vegan with a low cholesterol and you add dietary cholesterol, your bad cholesterol goes up, which causes atherosclerosis, strokes, and heart attacks.
There's no complete evidence of that. That blood cholesterol affects your cardiovascular disease. And I can send you some studies that show that.
And those are the fake ones that I'm talking about, where they compare baseline cholesterols, which doesn't match up either, because you are not me. We both start at different baseline cholesterols. So they match people up, and they...
Here's an overview of 30 different studies showing that there's a lack of association or an inverse association between low-density lipoprotein cholesterol and mortality in the elderly. Meaning that...
And how many of those are funded by the meat and dairy and egg companies?
I don't know, but how do you know? You can say that, but how do you know that your studies that saturated fat and cholesterol are bad for you are not funded by the sugar industry? Because if you are consuming,
okay, I'm not promoting sugar though, and I don't think
I'm not saying that's what you're promoting. I'm just saying these studies are not on your side.
No. A whole foods plant-based diet
studies for your well-being.
No. Hold on. Nobody who's on a whole foods plant-based diet is going to say sugar is great for you. I would agree added sugars is bad for you. Added sugars is different than plant foods. Now, plant foods do not cause heart attacks by themselves. They do not cause atherosclerosis. Would you agree with that?
With the exception of grains, I would agree with that.
Okay. So what's if there's skepticism out there of maybe it's sugar, maybe it's meat, and you're saying you would agree with other plant foods don't cause heart disease, why not go with that diet?
Because it's not necessarily nutritionally adequate. Okay. Vitamin A, carnitine.
Okay, well, we talked about this yesterday. There's 50 different carotenoids in vegetables that get converted.
Okay, I can send you plenty of studies that show that these precursors, the conversion rate is very poor.
Very poor. So here's the thing that we went over for like an hour yesterday with some other guy, is that you'd have to show on average that vegans are more deficient in vitamin A than meat eaters for that claim to be true.
I can send you a study showing that half of this, I think it was like thousands UK women, and 50% of them had a genetic mutation where they cannot produce vitamin A from beta carotene.
Okay, so were these people on a whole foods plant-based diet from birth, and they were eating, a whole foods plant-based diet, or were they meat eaters, and then they were messed up because of that, and now they can't convert stuff as well?
Okay, you can say that.
As well as they could
do
have.
you have any evidence that eating meat?
Well, I haven't even seen your study, first of all, so
All right,
I can't even look at it.
I'll show you that right now.
Okay, so it's just like a correlation type of survey? Like, what is it?
You. All right, the title of the study is Almost Half of UK Women Could Be Suffering from a Lack of Vitamin A Due to Previously Undiscovered Genetic Variation. Scientists at Newcastle University have found.
And?
A volunteer group of 62 women, the team found that 29 of them, which is 47%, carried a genetic variation which prevented them from being able to effectively convert beta-carotene into vitamin A. The study also showed...
Well, isn't beta-carotene one carotenoid out of like 50?
Yes, but that is the one that is converted at the highest rate out of all of the carotenoids.
Okay, so on average, are vegans more deficient in vitamin A than meat eaters?
We don't know this.
Does that study prove that?
Unknown. Prove that,
it's unknown.
It's unknown.
I'm pretty sure that is known. I'm pretty sure vegans get blood tests, right? So here's how it works. Vegans get blood tests. Meat eaters get blood tests. They've actually proven that vegans, on average, are healthier than meat eaters. It's the
okay, well,
opposite
that
of
also
what you're
has to do
saying.
with lifestyle factors, and most meat eaters are also
that's garbage.
Processed carbohydrates.
They've disproven that too. So a vegan who sits on the couch, a sedentary vegan, has better arterial health than a meat-eating marathon runner.
A meat-eating marathon runner, that doesn't mean anything to what he's eating, though. A meat-eating marathon runner could be eating McDonald's at every meal.
Well, so could a vegan. That's the point. It's not whole foods, plant-based dieters. They could be eating junk food too.
So
there's a lot of vegans that eat junk food.
That show any vegans from birth that ate only a whole foods, plant-based diet, lived well into adulthood like that with no supplementation, that don't have any deficiencies.
Cutting out a little bit. So you're asking me, have I seen a where a vegan has been born since birth on a whole foods plant-based diet and hasn't had deficiencies? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, and has gone into adulthood healthy without any deficiencies.
I don't know where I would find that study.
Because there are none.
Like, you know what I mean? But what does that mean? Well, that's why you got to look at things now. Are vegans deficient? No. Are they healthier? Yes. So what are you?
Deficiencies don't happen.
But you're just appealing to the unknown.
I'm not appealing to the unknown. I'm saying that you can't say that something is nutritionally adequate if you don't have evidence that it is nutritionally adequate.
Well, here's the thing. If vegans are healthier on average, if vegans are healthier on average, I'm going to go with that diet. If sugar and meat are problematic, if sugar and meat are problematic and I don't know which one's the culprit of this and that, I'm going to go with a whole foods plant-based diet. That's just common sense.
And you can do that. I did that myself, and it didn't work for me at all.
Well, now we're going to anecdotal stuff, right?
I'm not saying that that's evidence. I'm just saying that's what I tried. Didn't work. But aside from that, getting back to my point, in order to know that something is nutritionally adequate, you need to have someone who was born from birth eating that diet. They had healthy kids who ate that diet, and those kids had healthy kids eating that diet.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, you could look at bodybuilders like Namai Delgado, who's gigantic and able to get huge, and he hasn't eaten meat since birth. So there's an example of people out there that can do all sorts of
creatine and carnosine and carnitine.
You don't need creatine. And listen. Look at the picture there of me there. I go to the gym all the time, and the thing is, when I was a meat eater, I took creatine because meat eaters don't even get creatine like bodybuilders supplement with. They supplement with 5 grams per day, and it gets saturated in your muscles and produces more, ATP.
They're also which is decreasing its bioavailability of the creatine.
Well, listen, you don't get that amount on a meat-based diet. So you need to supplement for there to be any benefit towards bodybuilding or working out. So even meat eaters supplement. So you can't just say, well, this guy supplements, so therefore his diet's not adequate. Bodybuilders supplement all the time, whether they're meat eaters or vegans.
Okay, so
doesn't
matter.
Like
you said there, then you can't just say, oh, well, look at this guy, he got big on this diet. I'm not saying you can't build muscle on a vegan diet. Just because something is not nutritionally adequate, you could build muscle on a McDonald's diet.
Yes.
Sorry about those noises, guys.
You're going to have adequate amount of protein. Like if you get very, very minimal protein and you just have the adequate amount of calories, and you'll get a positive nitrogen balance, and all you need is progressive tension overload and sufficient calories to feed the muscle, and you will gain muscle and size. So all these claims about you can't do this, you can't do that are bogus.
I didn't say you can't do this or you can't do that. I'm just saying that these people are
I've heard a lot of primal dieters say that.
Not all primal dieters.
I just figured you were on board with Milk Jar and all the rest of these people.
This isn't like a cult where everyone agrees with each other. At least I'm not in that.
Okay, well, that's good, because the guy we had yesterday was just a Milk Jar clone, and he actually thought there was flat Earth, and he was a sun gazer, and all sorts of craziness.
You know, I think I saw that. We're
not going to get into that.
He didn't say that. Yeah, we're not going to get into that. That's whatever. That's irrelevant.
Okay, so what about uricase? You ever heard of uricase?
Uricase. That is a product of uric acid, correct?
So when you are let me see here, meat eater, a carnivore or an omnivore, uricase gets secreted into your kidneys. When you are a herbivore or a frugivore, there is no secretion, and a human has no secretion, which matches up with a herbivore or a frugivore.
So what is your point here?
Well, you're naming stuff about in your digestion. You were naming things in your digestion that are matching up with carnivores and omnivores, and I'm just saying, well, there's the complete opposite over here.
So you're mentioning things saying that we're partly frugivorous. I'm mentioning things that we are partly omnivorous. So if there's both sides,
we're not. In regards to secretion of uricase in the kidneys, we're not omnivorous.
What is the function? Like, what is the purpose of secreting uricase in the kidneys?
I think I'm not. I don't have like the Wikipedia thing here open, but it's got like it has a lot to do with how a carnivore or a omnivore has more acidic urinary chemistry, and a herbivore and frugivore have more alkaline urinary chemistry. And the urinary concentration of a carnivore and an omnivore are more extreme, and it's very moderate for a frugivore. And it's even comparatively weak, it says, for an herbivore, but we are moderate, just like frugivores. We're not even on the herbivore scale for that.
Do you have evidence of this?
You cut it out again? I can't hear you.
I said, do you have any studies that show the evidence of that?
Well, you just keep asking me the same thing. Like, I can't say anything without you saying, do you have a study? Like, this debate's going to go nowhere if you just keep saying, do you have a study? Do you have a study?
Right,
well, like, I'm just naming things in the body. Like, this is just biology I'm naming. Okay. Like, I mean, I can name 25 more things if you want to, like about our cooling system, about how humans sweat, about all your jaw structure and your facial muscles and your teeth and your tongue, and just everything on here: colon type, length, shape, colon chemistry, liver type, liver size. All these things match up exactly with a frugivore. It's a huge list.
So isn't there evidence that humans have left the rainforest like over 1 million years ago?
And okay, what do you mean humans? There's humans in the rainforest now. What do you mean?
They are now, but what I'm saying is they left the rainforest over 1 million years ago. There are tribes, like Neanderthals, for example, and all different subsets of humans. They left the rainforest, and they went off to evolve into different subsets of humans.
Yeah, migrated out, but I mean, it doesn't mean everybody left from one area and it's like, peace out, nobody lives here now. They just, more and more humans, they spread out across the world. They traveled, they explored. That's what humans do. They're explorers.
Yes, and they adapted. So
yeah, that's why I'm white.
Maybe we originally only ate fruit, like, I don't know, like 4 million years ago. But 4 million years is plenty enough time for our bodies to adapt and change.
There's no plants in the other areas of the world. I live in Canada where it's 40 below weather out right now. You could find plants to eat for at least 5 months of the year just by walking through the bush.
5 months of the year. So that means that 7 other months of the year aren't enough. So what would you be eating in Canada? I just said
it's 40 below weather here. People didn't migrate to 40 below weather unless they were like Inuits, which is people who are around here. And those people, I know you're going to say the complete opposite, but have shown to be had heart disease. And you're going to say, oh, no, they haven't. So it's almost the same discussion every time.
Well, speaking of the Inuit, that was once they were put on government welfare and given pounds and pounds of sugar and grains and literally any food that they want. But I don't even want to discuss that, honestly. Okay. We can go back to what we were saying, because we could go on a whole tangent about that.
Okay.
So, would you agree that over millions of years, it's enough time for our bodies to evolve to the environment we live in and the food that we're eating?
Yeah, but you're saying that it's that the food we were eating was meat, and I'm saying the opposite. Of course, I agree that you're adapted to eating what you're eating, and that's why I just named this whole chart. It shows right here that you're not adapted to eating a carnivorous diet.
Okay. So,
like, you can guess what happened. You can guess 1 million years ago we did this. You can guess 1 million years ago we did that.
No,
but there is things that, fossilized human feces that show we're frugivorous. There's a whole chart of biology here that shows we're frugivorous.
And there's also it's very common sense to see that buried human that they've ever found.
Yeah, but that doesn't tell you how much they were eating it. That doesn't tell you how much they were eating it, because they found bones. And it could be certain humans in one area. Like, bones last longer than fruit.
So if it was certain humans in a certain area eating more than others, would you agree that some people have more adaptation to eating meat than others?
No, because if you look at the spectrum of 1 million years, some people during one certain time period might have been eating a lot of meat, but that doesn't mean that the evolution of humans is now carnivorous because in one area, in one certain place, some humans ate a bunch of meat.
So how about the
rest of the time they were eating plants?
How about the tribal people who live in the Amazon right now who aren't frugivores? And they're untouched by society. What do you think about them?
All I heard was Amazon and society. So, sorry, say that again.
Okay. So what do you think about the untouched tribes in the Amazon who are not eating a fruit-based diet? And they're untouched by society. It's not like they weren't introduced to modern foods. And some days I've seen things.
If you look at third world countries, people don't eat animals a lot in third world countries. They're eating mostly grains and beans and stuff that are cheap that they can get a hold of. Animal products are a luxury.
Yes, it is a
luxury. And people hunt for survival. That's it. When they can get plants, they eat the plants because it's way easier to eat the plants. I haven't looked into some obscure tribe in the Amazon, but when people can eat plants, they eat that more because it's easier. The guy yesterday was trying to tell me that it's easier to catch and bite into a squirrel than it is to eat an apple, and that's absurd.
Well, would you say it's difficult to, like, if you were at the beach and a mussel came up on the beach, to open up the mussel and eat the mussel? I think that's pretty easy.
Yeah, I think it would be a lot easier also to find sea vegetables like seaweed on the shore, though.
You think that would be as appealing?
It's hard to say.
Like, go out on the beach and eat some seaweed that comes up.
Well, actually, I think a seaweed would be more appealing than a chewy little mussel.
We're also not designed, like, we can't digest seaweed. It's cellulose. We can't digest cellulose unless we cook the shit out of it.
I'm pretty sure people are like fully adapted to eating seaweed the last time I checked. There's all sorts of sea vegetables that people are adapted to eating, but one of them actually, I was reading, is not spirulina. And spirulina is actually bad for you. And blue-green algae is actually bad for you too.
I've heard controversial things about the algae too. I mean, it doesn't really make sense. How would we be eating algae in nature?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I believe all those superfoods are bogus, like goji berries and stuff like that. Like, I don't think anybody was eating that crap.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think that's bullshit.
Flax or anything like that. Like, flax is like the least appealing thing to eat. Just tastes like sawdust.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, you can't deny though that, I mean, you agree that people like fruit. It's eye-catching. You taste carbohydrates. You don't taste amino acids like a cat does. A cat doesn't find fruit appealing, but a human does. But your argument for some reason is that you're carnivorous and not even omnivorous because you have a very high animal product.
I'm saying
you have
that
a very high animal product diet, which almost implies you're carnivorous, and then you're just eating a small amount of fruits and vegetables, you said.
I personally feel better when I eat that way. Like, there could be studies saying absolutely anything, but if I try it, and I
so you're just going by how you feel. You're just going by how you feel. Like, do you know, like, a heart attack isn't going to tell you, hey, I'm coming. One day it's just going to hit you, and then you just drop dead, and then it's too late to change.
Okay, well, do you have any solid proof that eating cholesterol is causing heart disease?
Well, there is tons of stuff. I link studies in my videos. I don't know if you checked
the American Clinical Journal of Nutrition
in my videos.
Recently said that it is now not a nutrient of concern for overconsumption.
Okay, well, you'd have to show me that too. But then I also like have contradicting studies, and then we have to see what who funded your study and all sorts of things like that, right? So it's pretty bogus to just keep talking about studies that nobody can look at in 2 seconds, right?
Yeah, I agree, because you can there's studies on everything. There's studies that'll conflict every single information that you could find. So how can you really?
Well, there is experts out there. Like if you look at a guy like Dr. Garth Davis or Dr. Greger, who has studied all of these studies and knows the facts, they could tell you what's wrong with all of these studies that you're talking about. I, on the other hand, have just studied like basic nutrition, what I could find on the internet. And, I'm in school for nutrition, and I also just do my own research, but I haven't researched every single study to be able to tell you who funded each single one and what was the results of every single one and stuff like that, because that's ridiculous.
That's like near impossible
to learn that. Yeah, and unless you're getting paid to do that for some reason, or it's just your hobby.
Yep. All right. So another topic I wanted to, or can we just finish this topic for now? I'm not even sure what we're kind of just free flowing right now.
Okay. Well, I mean, I just want to. Okay, since we're moving on, though, I just want to wrap up what we were just talking about. I named like a lot of things about your body that is frugivorous, and I could continue to name them. Like you named one or two things, and you said meat grew brains.
Like one or two things as well. You can't say that like, oh, our nails are different than a lion's, so we're not designed to eat what a lion eats. Like,
no, okay. Let me just go through again quickly. Your nails, your cooling system, the uricase, the way your body handles cholesterol, your saliva, your teeth, the way your jaw moves, jaw angle, jaw type, brain chemistry, the way your mouth opens wide compared to your head size, your vision.
What do these have to do with actual digestion?
And
like, you can mention all these traits, but what do they have to do with the digestion of the human body?
What do you mean the digestion? I do have some things about digestion here, actually. Digestion. So here's for humans and frugivores, right? For frugivores, digestion time to complete 12 to 18 hours. For a carnivore, can rip through meat within 2 to 4 hours in their digestion.
What do you mean? So like it's completely out? Or what do you mean by that?
Well, I don't know. That's what it's telling me on here.
It means like so.
Like I said,
so a lion. What you're saying is like a lion will eat a piece of meat, and then 2 hours later, it'll poop out that piece of meat. Is that what you're saying?
That's what it's. I don't know.
I'm pretty sure they absorb.
I don't know if it poops it out.
Majority of.
I don't know if it's saying poops it out. It's just way different by the hours of time that it takes to digest compared with a frugivore or a carnivore, is what I'm saying. time period. Doesn't matter if it's pooping it out or digesting it.
I've seen things from the
I can send you
time
this
of
later.
eating a piece of raw meat through digestion is like 2 hours for a human. If it's raw. If it's cooked, it'll take much longer.
Telling me here.
Might not be what it's telling you there, but there are other sources that can say that.
Okay, hold on one sec. I just had something I was gonna. Oh yeah, it even says about vitamin A here. So vitamin A you were talking about. So a frugivore can only metabolize smaller amounts efficiently, and a human can only metabolize smaller amounts efficiently. And vitamin A for a carnivore can metabolize large amounts efficiently. So humans can't even metabolize vitamin A. Like they can only metabolize it in extremely small amounts.
No, this is dependent on the amount of bile you have in your body. If you're consuming more fat and cholesterol, you're going to be forming more bile, which will dissolve fat.
Yeah, okay.
Fats.
It's almost like you're tricking your body then, but then you die of a heart attack, right? It's like you're tricking your body by putting in more cholesterol.
From putting in more cholesterol, especially like I mentioned, there are frugivores who eat 1.8 grams of cholesterol average a day, which is essentially 6 eggs a day.
Which is a fake study.
It's not a fake study. It's from Science Direct. I send it to you.
Okay. Well, I'll look at that later. And you can move on to your next point now.
All right. My next point was trans fats. So I remember you saying...
Trans fats are in meat.
Yeah, they are, indeed. And I remember you saying in another debate, I might have been with Sully Abu, that trans fats are just trans fats no matter what. And they're just all bad.
Okay.
Well, there's science that that's not true, and there's different types of trans fats, and that the natural trans fats in animal products can actually be beneficial. And I can send you that too.
Okay, well, I'm going to Google that right now too. So, I mean,
look up transvaccinic acid.
Different types of trans fats. So you're telling me trans fats are good for you?
I'm saying some trans fats are good for you. I'm not saying all trans fats are good for you.
Okay, which ones?
Hydrogenated vegetable oil trans fats are not good for you, like oleic acid. That's terrible for you. But
I agree
look up transvaccinic acid. VACCENIC.
Okay, well, I know I saw something here that said why it's bad for you in meat, so I'm just trying to find that. Transvaccinated for you. Hold on one sec. Okay. Well, I don't know. It might take me a couple minutes to find this, so you can keep talking. Hold on.
All right. Well, I found on my city. I can send that to you on Twitter if you want me to.
Well, it's kind of like you're just throwing stuff at me. I don't have time to like find my,
Yeah, you can look at this later. I'm just
like I
have the evidence behind it.
Yeah.
You don't have to like look at it right now.
So yeah. Shit. Okay, here's one.
University of Alberta researcher Fleur Wang found that a diet with enriched levels of transvaccinic acid, a natural animal trans fat found in dairy and beef products, can reduce factors associated with heart disease, diabetes, and obesity. Results indicated this benefit was due to the part of the ability of vaccinic acid to reduce the production of chylomicrons, particles of fat and cholesterol that form in the small intestine following a meal and are rapidly processed throughout the body. The role of chylomicrons is increasingly viewed as a critical missing link in the understanding of conditions arising from metabolic disorders. You got the study that I sent you?
Okay, no, I didn't get that yet, but I was just reading this here. About, according to the USDA nutrition database, cheese, milk, yogurt, burgers, chicken fat, turkey meat, bologna, and hot dogs all contain about 1 to 5% trans fats. Trans fats.
The majority of that trans fat is transvaccinic acid, if not all of it.
And it says there's tiny amounts of trans fats in non-hydrated vegetable oils. Let's see here. Well, this website's telling me it's like equally bad. So
what does it say about it being
I'll
equally bad?
Well, it's just telling you to avoid all of it, like to avoid the trans fats and meats. Trans fats are bad. It's linking me all over the place though, so I can't find the source of where it's coming from, which is okay. The National Academies of Science, NAS. It's talking about. I don't know. I'll have to go through this and send you this later.
Kind of, in my view, this is kind of like how processed sugar in its whole form is terrible for you, just like processed trans fats.
Well, here's the thing, like it's
trans fats from vegetable oils.
Yeah, vegetable oils is bad, right? I agree with that. But that's the thing. So here's the argument that I made earlier about sugar, right? And cholesterol. So there's trans fats in meat, there's trans fats in vegetable oils. There's no trans fats in a whole food plant-based diet.
Because there's benefits of this transvaccinic acid that have been shown.
Okay, but here's the thing though, but it's like I could tell you that it's bad for you. You could tell me that it's good for me. And we could both send each other conflicting studies. But there's no trans fats in a whole foods plant-based diet. And there's no added sugars in a whole foods plant-based diet, and there's no cholesterol. So there's nothing to worry about.
That's not necessarily a good thing. Because
well, it is a good thing.
I just showed you.
Because I'm telling you it's bad. And you're telling me that it's not. And there's a huge debate about it. So why not take the safe route and go with the one that has neither?
Because it's not taking the safe route. I just showed you benefits.
The thing is, even if you were, here's the thing: even if you were to prove to me somehow, which I don't think you can, that trans fats in meat are good for you, I still wouldn't eat meat, and I still wouldn't recommend anybody eat meat because of all the other harmful things in meat.
Well, my point that I'm making now is on trans fats, and in the debate with Sully, you said that all trans fats are the same, no matter if they're grass-fed or grain-fed or what have you.
Okay, well, they don't have to be exactly the same as the ones in vegetable oil. They don't have to be exactly the same as the ones in vegetable oil, but I would still argue that they're bad for you. And I have
the reason why you think that they're bad for you is because the research you're looking at is putting all trans fats in the same category, just like some studies put all sugar, whether it's from fruit or processed sugar, in the same category. That research
I would agree that they should be in the same category. I would agree that all added sugars should be in the same category, though, because they're all bad for you.
No, what I'm saying is they're putting, like, there's many studies that say all sugar is bad for you, no matter what it's from, even if it's from naturally occurring fruit in its whole form. They still say
that's different.
They're consuming too much fruit. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. It is different. That's what I'm saying with the trans fat, is that not all trans fats are the same.
But then I would tell you that meat isn't human food, and that's why it's bad for you.
All right. Well, that's irrelevant to my point. My point is on trans fats
because
right now.
you're saying trans fats is good for you is because it's coming from a whole source, and I'm saying that whole source isn't human food anyway, so that's why it's bad for you.
Well, I just showed you benefits that it's not bad for you.
Well, you didn't really show me anything. You just showed me a study. You linked it to me, and I have no time to read a study on live stream here and then send you mine and read over this too. So, I said, the study stuff is kind of ridiculous.
My point here is not whether meat is good for you that I'm making right now. My point here is that not all trans fats are bad, and there is evidence to show that not all trans fats are bad.
My point earlier was cholesterol was bad, and whole foods plant-based diet is great. Can you actually debunk anything about a whole foods plant-based diet besides saying vitamin A, though?
Arguing against the plant-based diet. I'm telling you that trans fats are not
against
bad.
The plant-based diet. No, like in general, are you arguing against the whole foods plant-based diet?
In general, I don't think that it's nutritionally adequate in the long term. You might feel good.
You said. So it's nutritionally adequate, but not for a long term?
No, I said it's not nutritionally adequate in the long term. So, like, you might feel good at first, and nutritional deficiencies might not show up at first, but it takes many, many years for nutritional deficiencies to show up. I'm not saying that means
same with the meat diet, but same with the meat diet. But then on average, vegans aren't more deficient and they're healthier on average. So
I can show
anybody
you
can be
studies that
deficient.
vegans are more deficient in creatine. I can show you that vegans are more deficient in carnitine. I can show you studies that vegans
They
are more
don't need
deficient
that.
in omega
Carnitine
3s.
kills you.
Carnitine
Carnitine
kills you.
is harmful
Carnitine,
to you.
how is carnitine harmful for you? When
Okay,
carnitine
now
is
I got to
responsible
Google
for the
another
trans
study,
fat
right?
of fatty acids. You could say something's bad for you, but you need to explain why it's bad for you.
Yeah. Okay, but
A part of my knowledge,
it's been
carnitine is
linked to
responsible.
cancer.
Okay, they can link anything to cancer. There's so many things linked to cancer. But
Okay.
the purpose of carnitine
But here's the
is
point.
to transport. Can I finish my point here?
Yeah.
And the purpose of carnitine is to transport fatty acids like DHA into the cell membranes. So if you are deficient in carnitine and you have a diet that is low in DHA or non-existent DHA, except what you're relying off what you produce, you are having less DHA in your cell membranes. You understand?
New study. This is from Harvard Health. L-carnitine in red meat linked to heart disease.
Does it say how?
So I could. This is
there a control group
4 years ago. I see, but then now you're gonna make me go through this whole way more studies.
Sorry, you cut out there.
I could sit here going through this whole study forever, but like I could just
it'll take forever if you go through all these studies. I'm just saying there are studies showing vegans have lower levels of iodine, vegans have lower levels of carnitine, vegans have lower levels of omega 3s.
Iodine's in a ton of things. Iodine's in like bananas, like iodine's in cranberries, mangoes. Like there's so many things that iodine is in. Like I could. That's the thing is like you could name one thing like vitamin A, and then I could just Google all these plant foods that contain carotenoids that get easily converted to vitamin A, and on top of that, vegans aren't more deficient in vitamin A. You could say iodine. I could Google all these plant foods that contain iodine. It's not, and then the other things that you're going to name, I'm going to say those are harmful, right? Like cholesterol, like carnitine, and then we say what gets converted to DHA? ALA, right?
ALA gets converted into EPA, and then EPA gets converted into DPA, and then DPA.
Are vegans more deficient on average?
I have some studies right here. I can show you that vegans have lower levels of DHA.
Okay, and how is it? Okay, hold on.
So, I have a study showing that for healthy young men, the conversion rate of ALA to DHA is 0 to 0.4%. Would you like me to send you that?
Hold on a sec. You can send me whatever, yeah, and I'll look at it afterwards. But the thing is, like, if they're not more deficient on average, then it means nothing.
They are more deficient on average, and there's plenty of studies that will show you that.
Okay. Well, I'll have a look at that. I haven't seen what you're showing me. Let me see here.
DHA is like a vital nutrient for your nervous system function, for the sodium potassium pump, for energy metabolism, for all these different things.
So that has to do.
Look into it.
From what I've learned, right? Like I've been following a lot of frugivores, right? And a lot of fruitarians, right? Mm-hmm. And these are people that are eating 100% fruit diets for the most part. And their blood tests are absolutely perfect. And how that works is fruit has like a perfect balance of omega-3 and omega-6 where no inflammation occurs. And when you have
you don't see if they have high levels
things like
of
meats that are very inflammatory. Sorry, what?
You don't see that they have high levels of triglycerides. Like I saw Fully Christina, on her blood test, her triglycerides were 210, and they just brushed past it like it was nothing.
Well, that would vary from person to person, right? But like I'm saying,
doctors say that
I'm saying fruit in general has a perfect balance of omega-3 and omega-6. So when you consume foods like that, it's not about can I get like am I getting enough omega-3? It's already balanced, right? Oh. So like when you're eating, go ahead.
What I would say to that is, did they have a DHA test of their blood? Was DHA tested, or was it just a standard blood test testing things like cholesterol and potassium, sodium, all those basic things that are in the average blood sample that health insurance covers? But if you were to go and do a complex test, like getting your DHA done or getting the particle size of the LDL done, most people are not getting those tests done.
Would you say that, well, it's telling me right here, like walnuts, pumpkin seeds, all these nuts and seeds contain, and it's telling me that they're sources of DHA as well as EPA.
They are not sources of DHA and EPA. They get converted, but at a very small rate. And for some people, they don't convert at all.
I don't know what you're looking at. Those are probably unhealthy meat eaters that went vegan, and then now they can't convert.
It was done on healthy young men. And then there's also, I mean, you could say that it was meat eaters that went vegan. Like, that's not disproving any of my points.
Okay, well, I'll look at what you sent me later. But there is sources of DHA if a vegan or vegetarian is concerned about that with plant foods, so it can easily be taken.
And you said that you don't think that we should be consuming algae. What other sources of DHA are there besides from algae?
Well, the thing is, I don't have time to Google this. I just named some off a page, and you said they don't. So
that's not DHA. That's ALA. They're saying it's a source of DHA because they're relying on the production from ALA to DHA, which is a minimal conversion.
It's telling me right here.
Well, that's a fallacy. It's not true.
Okay. Well, I'll get back to you on that. I gotta do some more looking up on that.
All right. I've also got some stuff saying that when, you know how there's studies showing that when you reduce your saturated fat, you reduce your LDL cholesterol. I'm sure you've seen things like that, right?
Sorry, what? I'm trying to find this DHA thing. Go ahead. Say that again.
What I was saying is, I'm sure you've seen studies saying that when from DHA, if you want to continue with that, we can. But I'm sure you've seen studies saying that when you decrease your saturated fat, there's a reduction in your LDL cholesterol, right?
When you decrease your saturated fat, there's a reduction in your LDL cholesterol.
You've seen studies saying that, right? I'm supposing you do because you're saying that saturated fat causes heart disease. So, I'm supposing that you're seeing
here's what I'm saying.
That.
No, here's what I'm saying. So when you eat a nut or a seed, right, it has saturated fat. And that's good for you because it also contains fiber. It's a whole plant food, and it has a neutral effect. So the saturated fat in the nut or the seed actually raises your cholesterol, but then the fiber brings it back down and neutralizes it. And you'll see when people have high cholesterols, like they'll have things like plant sterols because plants are good at bringing down cholesterol because of things like fiber.
Well, so there's also evidence showing
when you have a lack of fiber, like meat diets, that's when you get heart disease, right?
There's not clear evidence of that, and there's also evidence that when you're eating saturated fat, it's the reduction of LDL is from the small dense particle is in the large buoyant LDL particles, which are not the ones that cause arterial plaque. The ones that cause arterial plaque are the small dense particles, which is responsive to processed carbohydrates and trans fats and all that stuff.
So you're telling me that a meat eater will never have arterial plaque like a human if they, just eat a ton of meat and all they have to do is avoid vegetable oils and sugar?
I'm saying that they should avoid processed foods in their entirety. They should have the lowest levels of inflammation that they can.
So meat causes inflammation.
What in meat causes inflammation? Explain.
Meat is inflammatory. Plants are anti-inflammatory.
Cholesterol is anti-inflammatory. That's the whole point of cholesterol. When you have inflammation, yes, that's the whole point of cholesterol. What LDL is the lipoproteins. So it's a mixture of fat and protein that carries cholesterol. And it carries that cholesterol into places where there's inflammation. So if you have inflammation in your arteries, for example, carry the cholesterol to the inflammation as an anti-inflammatory effect. And then it gets recycled by HDL, which then picks up the cholesterol and brings it back to the liver, where it can then be used either to be excreted as bile, or it can be recycled and used again for LDL.
It's really hard to hear like everything you're saying, and I don't even understand the point of what you're saying.
I'm just explaining to you how cholesterol works.
Okay, so you have cholesterol in your body. It works. What's your point?
What I'm saying is that when you are eating saturated fat and it's raising your LDL cholesterol, it's raising the part of cholesterol. It is the buoyant particles, which are not causing arterial plaque. The ones that are causing arterial plaque are the small, dense particles. I'm sure. Have you heard of LDL and VLDL?
But you're saying this stuff, but that's not what studies show. Is that it only comes from sugar?
Okay.
I mean, like again, it's ridiculous to say that all these studies that cholesterol doesn't cause any arterial plaque on your arteries is pretty ridiculous.
Cholesterol is the same.
Dietary cholesterol is not the same as the cholesterol you already have, right? So when you have dietary cholesterol, it raises your cholesterol. You're putting more cholesterol in there. It raises your bad cholesterol, and it only raises your good cholesterol a little bit.
This is the good LDL, not the bad LDL. It raises the good LDL, and it raises the HDL. It is true, and I will show you some studies.
We're just going to go in circles. We're just going to go in circles where you tell me cholesterol is good for you, and I tell you it's bad for you, and then you say I have studies, and then
I'm explaining to you why it's not bad for you, and then you just say no. Like that's not how you debate someone.
And I explained to you why saturated fats is fine from plant foods, but not from other foods. So again, like you're explaining your side, I'm explaining my side. It's not like we're not even getting anywhere here.
But you're saying that cholesterol causes heart disease. But you don't know what the function of cholesterol is in the body. When I explained this to you, you didn't know. Correct? Like when you didn't know that LDL it carries the cholesterol to places of inflammation.
Here's your arguments. It's like you've studied obviously more of like exactly what cholesterol does and this and that. I've studied other things, and I'm telling you what I've learned, and you're like, well, you don't know exactly on a cellular level what.
So how can you say that something is bad for you if you don't know the function of it?
Okay, so that doesn't disprove the studies. That doesn't disprove the consensus that cholesterol is killing people by all these researchers out there. That's why, like I said earlier, that you can't advertise eggs are healthy on TV is because of the cholesterol, and it's been proven in a court of law, even though people have tried to, from the animal products industry, tried to fake the studies and paid off government and all this stuff, and they still got busted. So it's not like a conspiracy or nothing.
They can manipulate studies and get busted. But did it show?
And they manipulated the studies and got busted. Yeah.
I agree with that. I'm not saying that that's wrong.
So if they got busted saying that cholesterol doesn't cause heart disease, then it does cause heart disease.
Not necessarily. They can manipulate a study.
Okay, because you've studied exactly what it does on a cellular level, then that therefore didn't happen. Because you could explain it a little bit better than I can.
Oh my God.
Like you could explain it in a different way, and I'm telling you, a nut interceder is fine because it's got fiber, and you say no, that's not. This is exactly how cholesterol works. Therefore, it doesn't cause heart disease.
The cholesterol that is raised when you eat saturated fat, regardless if it has fiber or not, much shorter than the ones that are raised from processed carbohydrates and trans fats. 2 days with the saturated fat that you're eating. I'm talking about big LDL and very small LDL. Very small LDL lasts in the system for 5 days. And that is how the
when you're on an American diet and you're eating refined sugars and you're eating processed foods and you're eating meat, you could probably die faster than a person who's on a raw paleo or paleo diet. Maybe not. Maybe a paleo person is eating way more meat, or a primal dieter is eating way more meat, and they might die. I'm not saying processed foods or sugars are good for you. They probably contribute to heart disease, but meat by itself will still give you heart disease too. Whole foods plant-based diet, though, will not.
There is no proof that eating meat.
Well, here's the thing. It's like you're arguing against a side that I don't even have. You're arguing against, this whole time you've been arguing against processed foods, sugar, and oils. I am not saying any of those are healthy.
What I'm saying,
I am arguing against meat compared to a whole foods plant-based diet, and the only thing you've brought up so far is maybe DHA, and I'm saying you'll be fine with omega-3s from like pumpkin seeds and walnuts and things like that. You're saying no. I'll try to find something that links to that. I can't find that right now, but that's it. So far, you have DHA. That's it.
I have DHA. I have that vegans are lower in iodine, and creatine, carnitine.
No. Iodine, no.
Yes.
Iodine is in tons of plants. Iodine's in bananas. You don't think vegans on a whole foods plant-based diet eat bananas?
Okay. The government recommendations based off of not getting goiter. It's not based on optimal metabolic function. It's literally based off they literally did tests showing do we need to give someone so that they don't get goiter? And they found it was like 100 micrograms.
Do vegans have a lot of goiter? Do vegans have a lot of goiter? Is that a thing?
I'm not saying they're not eating enough to get goiter. I'm saying they're not eating enough for optimal metabolic function. And there's evidence that they have lower levels of iodine.
Okay, so potatoes have iodine. You don't think vegans eat a lot of potatoes? Strawberries, navy beans.
Okay, I'm not saying it's
cranberries, bananas, kelp, kombu. All sorts of things have iodine.
I'm not saying it's not in there.
Tons.
No, it's not tons.
There's no iodine. There's no iodine in potatoes and bananas. Like that's a simple Google search.
I'm not saying that they're not in potatoes and bananas. I'm saying that they're in potatoes and bananas in very small amounts. And to get enough, you would have to be eating lots of them.
There's a lot of water also in fruits and vegetables, you realize too, and they do eat a lot of them. Vegans actually do eat a lot of plants. They do have to eat more. That's how it works. This is what meat eaters always love to do. Like they like to measure this compared to this in grams. Like you realize fruits and vegetables are filled with water. So therefore all the nutrients look way less because it's like, you know, you look at something like celery, it's like 99% water. Of course it's going to be less,
from the point,
but you need to drink water.
It is less. It is less.
But you need to drink water. So when you're on a different diet, you drink water, right? When you're on a meat-based or a processed foods diet or any of these other diets where you're not getting a lot of water from fruits and vegetables, you drink water. So you're getting really clean water from fruits and vegetables, and you're eating a bit more. Therefore, you don't need to drink as much water.
I know this is an anecdote when I say this.
How is that an anecdote?
No, what I'm going to say right now is an anecdote.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
Nothing that is an anecdote. But when I ate I did an all raw fruits and vegetables diet. And when I did that, every time I ate lots of fruit, I shortly got thirsty after. Like very shortly after.
I missed what you said.
When I was eating an all raw.
Hungry after?
No. I said when I was eating an all raw vegan diet, fruit based, every time I ate fruit, I would get thirsty like minutes after having the fruit.
I still missed what you said. Did you say hungry?
Thirsty.
Okay. Well, I mean, again, that is an anecdote. So, like,
anecdote, but I'm just saying.
What fruit were you eating? Were you eating watermelon? You know, were you eating melons?
Lots of watermelon. Yes. Lots of melons.
So you ate watermelon and you were thirsty for water. Like, that is an anecdote and a
sugar
half.
Content.
Because I don't know what to tell you there.
Because eating lots of sugar will make you more thirsty. regardless of what the sugar
eating
is
lots
from.
of fiber will make you more satiated, and eating water from fruits comes in a good balance. So you're getting the exact amount of carbohydrates, fats, micronutrients, protein, water, everything in the right amounts. That's why it's a whole
fiber
plant
makes you
food.
more satiated?
Definitely makes you more satiated. That's why vegans don't gain weight like other people do, because they're satiated. Well, not vegans, sorry. I keep saying vegans, but whole foods plant-based dieters. When you go on a
I
whole
know this
foods
is another anecdote. When I did that,
but on average, people drop
like
10 pounds when they go on a whole foods plant-based diet because they're more satiated.
more than 10
That's
pounds.
a fact.
I'm like 5'10". When I was doing that, I weighed like 120 pounds.
Okay, I'm 5'10", 160 pounds. What's your point?
Now I'm 5'10", 160 pounds. Same here. But I was 5'10", 120 pounds, and I was eating. It's not that I wasn't eating enough. I was eating like 3,500 calories in a day. I was tracking everything on, you know what chronometer is?
Yes, but it's still very anecdotal. Like I'm the opposite. I've stated a good body weight.
Okay. What I'm saying is, it doesn't work for everybody. I did it for a long period of time.
Well, eat a couple potatoes, and then at least you won't have a heart attack.
I did. At one point, I was eating lots of potatoes. I added more fat. When I added more fat, I felt better. So I realized, wow, maybe.
Okay, well, what kind of fat? Like you were just drinking oil? Or did you have like avocados or nuts and seeds?
Tons of avocados and coconuts.
Okay.
And I felt
better. So why didn't you stick with that? Good.
Because I still didn't feel that good. I just felt a little better than I felt before. And then once I added in the raw animal fat. How long were you on a whole foods
plant-based diet?
2 years.
3 years.
2 years.
Sorry, say that. You say 3 years?
2 years.
2 years. So you're on there for 2 years, and you're telling me the whole 2 years you felt crappy?
Yes. I literally never felt better.
Okay, so I don't understand. For 2 years you were just suffering, and you were like, I'm just gonna stick with this for 2 years?
I wasn't suffering. I just wasn't thriving.
Okay.
Even like before I went vegan, I felt better then when I was eating shitty food than I did once I went vegan. And every time I looked into it, all like the vegan community, I was just saying I'm not vegan enough pretty much, and I need to go further and like eat all raw or eat all whatever, track all your nutrients on chronometer or whatever. Whole food plant-based, which I did, and I tried many different things. I tried having tons of sprouts. At one point, I was growing all my own sprouts, and I was having tons of them.
So how come I feel great? How come I haven't lost weight and I feel great?
Because different people's bodies work differently.
Bodies work.
Saying that doesn't work for you. Different people's bodies work differently. You know what gene polymorphisms are?
Yes, okay. So now you're going to say everybody's different because of their genes. And here's how that works. It's like everybody is a little bit different because of their genes, but it's not in the amount that people try to make it out to be, where you need to drastically change your diet to a meat-eating diet. That is not how your genes are. Your genes are not, now you should be a carnivore. Everybody is still a frugivore.
A genetic adaptation. Vitamin A. Would you recommend me to eat a vegan diet if I have that genetic adaptation? Or let's say I cannot synthesize vitamin D from the sun. There are people who have that genetic variation. Would you recommend them to go on a vegan diet?
There's some rare genetic things where people can't do stuff. Okay, so those people take a supplement.
Not that rare. Like I showed you in that one UK woman study, 50% of them had the genetic variation where they couldn't produce vitamin A. This isn't like...
Well, I haven't even looked at that study. It's probably bogus. Some people have 11 fingers. Like, most people are frugivores. That's what I'm saying. Like,
it works for you, then that's good.
99.999% of the world should be on a whole foods plant-based diet.
I'm not going to agree with you on that. But if it works for you, then have at it. I don't.
Well, we don't agree on much.
We don't agree on much, but I do agree with you that if it works, then go for it.
Okay, so you're saying a whole foods plant-based diet is good if you feel good on it. That's all you're saying.
That's what I'm saying, and I'm also saying that you need to be aware.
Isn't that pretty crappy science, though, to say that? Like you were arguing all this other stuff. You were arguing all this other stuff, and now you're just saying, well, if it feels good, then that's the way it is.
What I'm saying,
that's pretty crappy
that
science.
You can't base your entire life off of scientific studies. In a scientific study, they could say whatever they want, come to whatever conclusion they want. But
True.
If it's not true for you, it's not relevant.
That's why you got to go by common sense, though. That's why you got to go by common sense and look at biology.
It's not common sense.
Look at biology. Look at
cholesterol is bad for you. It causes heart disease, so I'm not going to eat cholesterol. It's not common sense.
Well, like I said earlier, if you're going to argue back and forth between is oil bad or is it from meat, or is sugar bad or is it from meat, and you said, well, you could look up studies for a lifetime, a lot of them are faked, why not go with the whole foods plant-based diet, the one that isn't demonized? They're either demonizing meat or sugar, so cut both out of your diet.
Because the whole foods plant-based diet does not work for some people. It does not work for everyone, and you can't say
neither does the other ones where it's killing everybody.
I'm not saying
it works way better.
I'm not saying there is one diet.
If vegans are healthier on average, on average, it's working better.
There is no evidence that vegans are healthier than someone who is eating raw meat.
Well, you agreed earlier, but then you said it was because of lifestyle choices.
That is part of it. Another part might be getting enough sleep. Another part might be a vegan who is eating whole foods.
Okay, so if studies don't matter.
Healthier.
Studies don't matter. Why wouldn't you go with the one that has been shown to be healthier on average, just because you feel better?
Because it doesn't work. It doesn't work for me. So I'm not going to go with something that doesn't work for me. Isn't that common sense?
Well, no, because we've been talking for, over an hour now, and the conclusion is whatever feels good. That's a pretty crappy conclusion.
Not the conclusion. I explained many studies to you, and if we're going to say that all studies are just bogus,
well, I didn't say that.
I would say to that, no, you literally said that like 2 minutes ago. You said all your studies are bogus.
Well, your studies are.
If they are bogus, which I'm not saying that they aren't, and I'm not saying that they are, but if you're going to go on that basis, then you're going to have to go off how you personally feel.
All right. So, I mean, we're not obviously not going to agree, and that's fine. That's fine. You feel good, whatever. I feel good, whatever. Do you not care at all about like the destruction that it causes on the planet, because that kills everybody? Like, if you're worried about health and you're worried about nutrition, you should be worried about how it's killing everybody on the whole planet, including you and your family.
Because they're doing it in unsustainable ways. That doesn't mean that all animal agriculture is unsustainable.
What's a sustainable way? What's a sustainable way? Grass-fed? That's not sustainable.
Not just grass-fed, because they can tear down forests and make grass-fed. What would be sustainable is if you raised animals that can naturally live in a certain environment and actually benefit that environment, and that's how you're raising them. Like, let's say you raise bison in the Great Plains. Let me finish. Let's say you raise bison in the Great Plains. Okay. That is beneficial for the environment, and you have a good source of food. We can argue on the health, but let's just stick to environment right now.
Everybody likes eating meat, right? You got a high meat diet, right? So therefore, there is billions of animals out there that need to be fed to all these people who are demanding meat, and you're just going to spread all these animals out across the world, or you're going to have to tell people, hey, you guys can't eat meat. What's the answer there? You're going to just spread out all the cows and chickens and
not how it works. Animal agriculture.
People are eating meat.
People are eating meat, but they're eating it in an unsustainable way. They're eating factory farmed meat.
Exactly.
Raised on the other side of the world.
So what are you going to tell people? What are you going to tell people?
Tell people is to buy local food where that animal can naturally live in that environment and benefit that environment. Like, for example, my example with the Great Plains, where if you live in the Great Plains, you should be eating tons of bison because...
Yeah. So everybody has to cut down their meat consumption, though, right?
Lives there.
Including you.
Not necessarily.
You could spread out 60 billion land animals across the Great Plains.
60 billion? Is that what you said?
Yeah, there's billions of animals, 60 billion per year, I believe it is, that they're being killed. I don't know exactly how many are on the planet right now.
But you got to focus on what I'm saying here. I'm not saying that everyone should be eating bison because bison can live in the Great Plains. I'm saying if you live in the Great Plains, where there is lots of grassland, and you are not destroying the environment.
Gotcha. But there's a lot less animals.
Not necessarily. Like, there was, before humans intervened, there were hundreds of millions of buffalo in North America. There were millions of deer. There were millions of ruminant animals.
So people with day jobs are just going to have to quit their jobs and just go hunting every day for bison in the Great Plains. Society just collapses.
People could raise buffalo in the Great Plains sustainably, just how they would normally live.
People are just going to all move to the Great Plains and start raising buffalo.
That's not what I'm saying at all, man. What I'm saying is that,
well, I don't know what the hell you're saying. You just keep saying the Great Plains and buffalo.
Just one example. like for example.
Okay. And so what are the other ones? What about somebody who lives in Tokyo? What about somebody who lives in Tokyo? What are they going to do?
Think that living in a city in any way is sustainable? In any way?
Do I think?
Yes. You think there's any way to live in a city where there's billions of people concentrated in one area, or millions, whatever? You think that can in any way be sustainable?
Air pollution is. I actually have been to Tokyo. That's why I mentioned that. The air pollution is big, but the main root cause of environmental destruction comes from animal agriculture. All the other problems are secondary, and you should always deal with the biggest problem first.
Okay, and I agree with you that unsustainable farming practices are destroying the earth.
Which you need to feed all the people of the earth.
All right, I've got a couple things to say.
Otherwise, you're just going to have to tell people to eat. Otherwise, you're just going to have to tell people you got to eat less meat, or you got to quit your job and go hunting. Or we got to plow down the planet to make grass-fed farms.
No, that's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying you should eat animals that can naturally live in your environment.
So nobody in a city can eat meat. That's what you're saying is your solution.
I'm saying cities should not exist. There are so many people on this planet right now.
But they do. So what do people do right now?
I'm not telling everybody in the city. They do exist, but they shouldn't.
I agree with you. I agree that people should be living more in harmony with nature, where somebody picks an apple and then eats it, spreads the seed out, takes a dump on the tree, and goes and has a bath in the lake. That would be beautiful. They wouldn't even have to kill an animal. They don't leave any type of carbon footprint. But that's not the way the world is. So what do you do now? We can't just have imaginary planets.
Okay. Humans have gone far past their carrying capacity on Earth. It does not mean that every single person on Earth can eat the same diet and be nutritionally adequate for every single person. It's just not possible. The population is going to have to go down. Regardless if people are on a vegan diet or not. The population is going to have to go down.
So listen to that. The environment is being destroyed right now. The population is what it is right now. So either you go kill half the planet, or you deal with the population control while you deal with the environmental damage, because time's running out. They say there's going to be no fish left in the water. There's going to be all these huge problems with the rainforest and everything. And that time's ticking on that. And you can't just be like, well, we need to cut down the population, and you have no plan for that. No strategy. All you're saying is population, though.
There definitely is strategies to reduce the population. Like educating people on birth control, for example. Going into poverty-stricken areas.
Yeah, but then there's no time for that. In the long run, that is a feasible plan. But right now, we need to be also worried about 51% of environmental damage from rainforest destruction.
Okay, let me ask you something.
Ocean dead zones.
If people I don't eat any factory farmed animal products at all. I'm horribly against that.
Worse for the environment.
You can argue that, but let me finish my point. If people were to stop eating factory farmed animal products, do you think that these giant grain companies like Cargill and Monsanto and all these companies are just going to say that we don't have to feed all these grains to animals? We're just going to stop producing all these grains. We're just going to get rid of this land and decrease our profits for the good of the earth. Do you think that they're going to do that? No. They're just going to have more spaghetti on the shelves.
No, if you're not buying it, where is it going? They're not just going to make no spaghetti that nobody's buying. They can't just force people to eat things in crazy amounts. If nobody's eating the stuff, they're not going to make it.
They're going to promote people to eat more grains like they are. In the food pyramid, they say 6 to 12 servings of grains per day. On as much grains as they possibly can into you.
You could feed a family of on a whole foods plant-based diet with like 1/6 to 1 acre of land. So
though, like you
if
could
you're
say,
only using that much, they're not going to have the same amount of acres. It doesn't make any sense. They're not just going to, their stomachs aren't going to grow 10 times as big.
That's what you said there is based off of the amount of calories produced per acre. So
you got to feed
you can feed enough calories. I understand you have to feed the animals. Calories from soybeans on 1/6 of an acre of all the nutritional deficiencies that would happen to soybeans. Like that's pretty much what that argument is, because you're not going to
cut
grow
out a lot. I
food.
couldn't even. All I heard was soybeans and nutrition.
All right, let me repeat this. So what you said there, 1/6 of an acre can feed a family of 4. It's based on the amount of calories produced on that acre, correct? Yeah. It's not based on the amount of nutrition. It's based on, for example, the amount of soybeans that they can grow on 1/6 of an acre.
You know that's exactly what it is just all soybeans? I doubt that is what it says.
Studies have said that, yes. They grow.
Okay.
They grow, so that's how they do studies like that. They grow enough soybeans.
They're recommending that people eat all soybeans.
That's not what they're recommending. But this is how they're manipulating data to make it sound good. So they're saying that
so you don't feed 3 times as much food to an animal?
Let me finish my point.
But they're not manipulating it.
They are manipulating it because they're saying that, you could supply a family of 4 on 1/6 of an acre if they're eating a vegan diet. But that data was based on, we can grow this many calories from corn on 1/6 of an acre. It's not based on off of
That's funny though, because I would argue that fruit is more sustainable than soybeans anyway. So it's probably be even less, because if you just plant a fruit tree, right, it actually helps the environment. It just stays there. You don't even have to do much to it. It doesn't kill the soil or anything. And it just drops fruit for you continuously through years and years.
Everywhere where people live, though.
Fruit grow everywhere where people live.
Can people grow fruit all year round? No, they're going to be getting it from places like South America and Indonesia.
No, fruit grows here. It's Canada. Fruit grows all over the place.
It does grow here.
There's grapes that grow here. There's berries. There's apple trees. There's pear trees. There's all sorts of fruit trees that grow around here. You could grow stuff in your house. You could grow stuff in your backyard. You could be very sustainable with plant foods. It doesn't have to be just soybeans.
At the end, that's not what I'm saying.
No.
At the end of December,
it's going to be less land than what you think it is, because even if you're going off just soybeans, it's not going to be tons and tons of land.
You don't have any data of that, but let me finish what I'm saying. In late December, is your fruit-based diet from Canada? No, it's probably from South America, where it's being shipped over 2,000 miles to get to your house, or to get to the grocery store, and then you buy it and bring it to your house.
Hey guys, we should probably wrap up this debate soon because it's getting kind of late. I just wanted to let you know.
Yeah, it is getting late. You're right.
Fruit gets shipped to the grocery store right now.
From Canada.
Not a problem.
So you don't think that constantly having planes going 2,000 miles at a time to deliver your food is unsustainable?
Transportation is like 18% of environmental damage compared to 51% from animal agriculture.
That's
So like I
because-
said, you deal with the biggest problem first.
And I agree with you that unsustainable agriculture, like factory farming, which is what they're getting that data from, of 51% of 50% of environmental destruction is being caused by animal agriculture. And
So
that's
what's
factory
worse?
farming.
What's worse though? A meat-based diet or a whole foods plant-based diet for the environment?
I would say if you're eating
Simple
locally,
question. Eating locally.
and food that can normally live or grow in your area, sustainable, then anyone can.
Yeah.
It's all from your
Okay,
local
so
area.
again,
Like
but then again, we go back to what do you
permaculture.
tell the world? What do you
I'm not
tell the
telling-
world then? You guys can't eat meat and I can because I live in the bush and you guys don't. You think that's a feasible plan for the world?
People can eat other animals that live in their
Nobody's
area.
going to agree with you. Nobody's going to
Animals.
agree with that.
I don't
The
care
world
if
is
people
just
agree
going to
with
kill
that.
itself with that strategy. Nobody's going to move to the bush to go live with you to hunt deer. They're going to stay in the city and the world is just going to be destroyed and everybody's going to die. Because
That's
your
like the same
plan
logic
is
of
no
me
good.
saying that, oh, people just aren't going to go vegan, so that's not a feasible strategy. That's pretty much the same
Well,
thing.
they are, and that's what we're trying to do is convince people to go vegan, and it is a feasible strategy. And then we deal with population.
So if the entire world was vegan, you still think that we wouldn't be destroying the earth?
Yeah. No, we would be. It'd be way less. And then, but the thing is, you shouldn't it's just because people are for one thing doesn't mean they're against everything else. You can be for everybody going vegan, then you could be for cutting down transportation, then you could be for trying to help the population. You could be for a whole bunch of things and try to help out in all different ways. The thing about meat eaters is they're just like, fuck it. I'm not going to help out with anything. Everybody's going to die. Soybeans, though, this and that, DHA, though.
Oh my god, dude. Ridiculous.
So what's your strategy then to help the world? Like everybody has to quit eating meat besides you and some other people that live in the bush.
No. They don't. Okay, if I live in the bush and I'm eating wild meat, do you think there's anything wrong with that?
So you think the solution is to force everybody to go vegan who's in a city?
If they want to live in a totally unsustainable world, they're going to have to make adaptations. If you were going to live in a natural world, then you can live in different ways that are more in harmony with nature.
So you think killing animals is in harmony with nature?
Nutrition from it, then absolutely.
Okay. Well, I mean, we could argue ethics, but you just wanted to argue about nutrition, so.
We can touch
And
into
Blue
ethics
wants to wrap
if
this
you'd
up.
like.
Well, you were saying that,
We
I
can
mean,
wrap it up.
if you want to let Blue, if Blue wants to talk about, she's been kind of just sitting here. If she wants to talk about ethics with you, she can. But the thing is, you said, I mean, you
Wrap it
can
up.
feel.
I would
You
love
can
to talk
feel
about
like-
ethics.
You would love to?
I would love to.
Okay, I just want to say my last point here. Like you said, a vegan diet can be nutritionally adequate.
For some
Right.
people.
And okay,
Not for all
and then
people.
also, okay, and then you're also saying that everybody needs to stop eating meat except people in the bush.
I didn't say that. You're taking words out. You're creating things that
Okay,
I didn't say.
So what is the plan then? What do people in Tokyo do?
Tokyo needs to be done with. Like, that should not even exist. That shouldn't, like...
But it does. So what do they
it
do?
does. But they shouldn't.
Are we just gonna go Hiroshima on Tokyo?
Okay. Yeah. Okay, I
That's
could
where
talk
we're gonna
about
go.
ethics. I'm gonna go do something for
Yeah,
a
let's
second.
go to ethics, because we're just going in circles here.
Woohoo, ethics. Here I am. All right, so I guess I'll start out by asking you, why do you think it's okay to kill and eat animals?
Because if you're getting nutrition from it, and it's making you be a healthier person, then I don't think there's anything wrong with it.
So if you were to kill humans and get nutrition from them, would it be okay?
Cool to animals.
Why not?
Because that's a good question. I think we have much more mental capacity than animals. I mean, clearly we have much more mental capacity than animals. That's not even something that
Yeah,
really be
sure.
argued.
But if a human has less mental capacity than other humans, like to the level of an animal that we eat, does that make it okay to kill and eat them?
Is there people who have the mental capacity of animals? Like, that's kind of like a hypothetical situation.
Yeah, it is. But there are people like that who exist. Like, there are people that, on a measured scale, have lesser or equal intelligence to animals that we eat.
So your question is it okay to eat mentally retarded people? Is pretty much what you're saying.
Yeah, with the intelligence of animals, because you deployed intelligence as a justification.
Well, I'm pretty sure there's also like disease-causing things from eating humans too, isn't there?
Well, that's kind of irrelevant because we're talking about ethics.
You're saying in the situation that eating humans are good for you.
No, not necessarily that it's good for you, just that it's ethical.
Would it be ethical?
Would it be ethical?
I mean, if you were in a starving situation where there was nothing else to eat and you would die, it's like you kind of got to take care of yourself.
Well, yeah, but we're not talking about being in a starving situation. We're just talking about everyday life.
No, I wouldn't.
You wouldn't think it's okay?
No. I mean, that's just my opinion, but I'm sure there's people out there who do that. But that's just my opinion.
But I'm only talking about you right now. So then it isn't okay to eat animals because they're less intelligent, and it isn't okay to eat animals because they're on a different level than us for whatever reason.
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
I said, so it isn't okay to eat animals because they're less intelligent than us. Because if you were to take a human with lesser or equal intelligence, then that wouldn't be an adequate justification for killing and eating them.
Even if a human has less intelligence, I don't think they're equal to an animal.
Why not?
Because they're just not. Like, we are animals, but like, you really don't see that much like cannibalism out there. I mean, like, sometimes apes will eat other. Do you think it's wrong for an ape to eat another ape?
Well, no, because they don't have moral agency. They can't tell right from wrong.
How do you know that they can't tell right from wrong?
Because it's scientific fact. Like, it's proven. They can't tell. Huh?
How is that scientific fact that they can't tell right from wrong?
Because they don't have the brain capacity for it.
So, because we have the brain capacity to determine what we think is right and what we think is wrong, which is really just our own ideas of what is right and what is wrong, then that makes certain things not okay to do. Is that what you're saying? Like, for example, eating an animal, you think it's not.
If you were to take a person that doesn't have any moral compass and they're incapable of having a moral compass, it would be unfair to hold them to the standards of a person that does, because they don't even see anything wrong with what they're doing.
So, what you're saying there is if someone didn't know right from wrong, and they were a human, and they ate another human, that would be okay because they don't know right from wrong.
Well, I guess that I could refine that by saying it wouldn't be okay. Like, it wouldn't be okay, but you can't really blame the person because it's out of their control. They can't really tell if it's right or wrong.
Isn't that kind of like a subjective thing, though, like of what is right and what is wrong? Like, that's kind of subject to our own opinion.
Well, yeah, it is subjective. Ethics don't exist outside of a person able to tell what ethics are, but that doesn't, saying ethics are subjective can justify literally anything. Like, I could just come up and kill you and just say, well, ethics are subjective.
Could be no consequences, yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah, it's kind of just like a preconceived human thing. Like, you don't do this because it's bad. But if it just happened in nature, there wouldn't be any consequences. It's just like our own
what is good and what is bad. Correct?
Well, are you trying to say that things are only good or bad because of their consequences?
What I'm saying is that good or bad is relative to our own opinion. So, like, for example, how can I project this? Like, an animal. It would be bad for the animal,
Yeah,
but it
surely.
would be good for me.
Surely.
It would be bad for the animal, but it would be good for me. It would be good for my family. So it's kind of like it's bad for one thing, but it's good for another thing.
But there's an alternative that's just as good.
Maybe for some people, but not for all people. Let me ask you a question.
Okay, so why are these
Let me-
people anomalies? You there? I can't hear you right now.
Oh, I said, what do you mean by that?
I said these. Why are these people anomalies in the sense that what makes these people different that they can't be on a nutritionally adequate vegan diet, but everybody else can?
There's not evidence that everybody else can. There's evidence that some people can. Possible
Like
thing
who?
to do. Like people who can't convert
Like, what's the difference
beta
between
carotene
these
into vitamin
people
A.
and... Okay, we've already talked about nutrition. Can you at least
Yeah, but that's just an
agree that
example. Like there are genes.
most people... Can you just agree that most people are able to have a nutritionally adequate vegan diet?
I can't say that for sure.
Huh?
I can say that some people it works for. All I can say is that it works for some people. That's all I can
Okay.
say. And let me ask you a question. If no matter
All
what
right.
you did on your vegan diet, you weren't healthy, no matter what you did, would you eat animal products?
No.
No,
I wouldn't
you'd rather
fault
just
other
suffer.
people for
You'd
it.
rather just suffer and
I wouldn't fault...
your health.
I would.
I'm saying
And
in
I
the
wouldn't
situation.
fault
I'm
other
saying in
people
the
for wanting
situation.
to eat. Can I say something real quick? Just so we
Question
don't
first?
get confused. I wouldn't fault other people for eating animal products if they didn't want their health to decline, but personally, I could never get over eating an animal or their secretions.
So
I could never do that.
understandable. So what you're saying is you would rather your health suffer than just consuming an animal product. Like if you really needed to do it in the situation that you really need to do it.
Yeah.
Aren't you causing suffering for yourself though then?
Yeah, but that's a personal choice. It's not a personal choice to cause suffering to another living being. That involves more than one party.
But that's kind of
It's like
just an
it's my choice
opinion,
to
though.
smoke
Honestly.
cigarettes. It's my personal choice to smoke cigarettes because it only affects me and my health. All else held constant, it doesn't affect anyone else. Like it's not going to hurt anyone else unless
Really?
you count in secondhand smoke. But I think you get
Really?
the gist.
Yeah. No, I get what you're saying. But what I'm saying here is like kind of everything is a personal choice. Like, for example, someone could just throw a nuclear bomb on like a city. That's their personal choice to do it. And like, yeah, in my opinion, it's terrible. But for the country, like let's say, for example, I don't know how true it is, but like all the stuff around like North Korea bombing us, like wanting to bomb us. Do you live in America?
What?
You live in the U.S. I'm sure you've heard of it, like all the crazy stuff about like North Korea
Yeah,
and the
I'm familiar
U.S.
with all that. One second, I'm gonna go shut my door.
So-
I'll be right back.
Seaweed has DHA.
What
Just
does?
looking stuff up here. Just so you know.
What has DHA? Seaweed?
Oh, there are
Does that
plenty of
Seeing a
plant
lot of
foods that have
omega-3.
DHA. If you leave shiitake
Go ahead.
mushrooms out in the sun
Vitamin-
for an entire afternoon,
That's-
it'll have enough DHA for you.
That's vitamin D2. That's not DHA. I know what you're talking about.
Okay, well, we
I'll get
can look
back
that
to you
up
with more
later, but
sources.
we're not even talking about nutrition right now anyway.
Whatever. So, all right. So back to what I was saying. Like, for example, the whole thing with North Korea and the U.S. If a country is trying to destroy another country, and one country is at risk, is it bad for the other country to stop the other country by means of attack? Is that wrong?
You're kind of cutting out, but I just want to know what this has to do with the ethics of eating animals.
Like, it's just a personal choice. Like, it's some things are good for some people and bad for others, and it doesn't mean that there's a general consensus bad or oh this is good. Like, it's wrong to kill animals no matter what, or it's wrong to do whatever no matter what. You know what I'm saying?
Well, what if I just told you, I feel like stabbing you 5 times, so I'm just going to go ahead and do that because morality is subjective. You would not accept that excuse.
Would not accept that.
Other people can believe whatever they want, but that doesn't mean that their ethics are inconsistent.
It doesn't mean it's factual though. Like, for example, if you said, "Hey, I just feel like stabbing you," and you got enjoyment out of it, that would be good for you because you're getting enjoyment out of it. It would be bad for me. So is that good or is it bad?
Yeah, so it would be unethical. It would be unethical. I might like doing that, but that doesn't make it ethical.
Again, that's just subject to your own opinion though. Like, if you thought that it was ethical and you were raised that it was just ethical to do that, then you would think that there's nothing wrong with it. It's subject to your own personal experience and your own conditioning. Correct?
Okay, I'm just going to bring this back on track. Would you want to be killed and eaten? Would you want that to happen to you?
If I was the lunch of a bear, bad. I'm saying it's bad for me. I'm not saying it's unethical. It's bad. It is bad for me, in my opinion.
Okay,
the bear doesn't care. It's good for the bear. Like,
why would you? Okay, why does that matter? why is that relevant to this conversation?
It's other life. It's not like they don't. Even like plants eat other life. Is it wrong for a Venus flytrap to eat a fly?
No.
They don't have to. They don't have to.
Well, they don't. Well, yeah, Venus flytraps are carnivorous. They have to. Are you carnivorous?
They don't have to eat
do you only eat meat?
I'm not saying I'm carnivorous. Thrive.
Then why are you appealing to Venus flytraps? If you're not carnivorous, then why are you appealing to Venus flytraps?
I'm just saying that all life eats other. Even like, just an example. Like, if an animal dies and it decomposes in the ground, other plants are going to use that so they can live. And this is how all life works. All life works from other life, regardless of what it is.
So why don't you just eat plants?
What makes you think that plants are worth less?
Because they're not sentient. Would you really say that it's better to slit a pig's throat than it is to chop down a tree in terms of the pain that it causes the creature? Like, trees can't feel pain, they can't experience life subjectively, they have no moral value.
They don't want to die.
Huh?
I'm not saying either one is worse. I'm just saying that a tree certainly doesn't want to die. Tree does not want to die. A tree doesn't want
anything because they're not sentient. A computer probably doesn't want to be smashed on the ground, in your opinion, but that doesn't mean it's unethical to do so.
It's different. The computer doesn't have that capacity. A plant, for example, is a plant.
Dude, we don't even have to get into all of this because your diet kills way more plants than vegan diets do. So even if you did think that plants were worth moral consideration, then you would go vegan.
I'm saying it doesn't matter, first of all. But what I'm saying is, when you eat animals that are eating grass, the grass grows back. So that's kind of a fallacy right there.
How?
Because you just said that you're killing more plants by eating animals, but I'm not. I'm not saying that either one is worth more.
You absolutely are. The plants that have to be grown and fed, plants have to be grown and fed to the animals that you eat, and then you eat the animals. So
only eating
by doing that, you're contributing to way more plant deaths than vegans ever will.
But grass doesn't die when it's eaten. So I don't know what you mean by that. Grass does not die when it's eaten. Like if a ruminant animal eats grass, die. The grass actually has more root structure, and it goes deeper into the ground and becomes stronger, and it grows back. That's why
I really don't see why any of this is relevant to the conversation.
I'm just saying your point because you just said you're killing more plants, but technically I'm not. But anyway.
Okay, technically you're not killing plants, but then why are you suggesting that vegans are killing plants?
Because they are. I'm not saying that it's worse. I'm not saying it's better.
So the animals that you eat only eat grass?
Yes. They might eat weeds and stuff like that, but they only eat grass. I don't buy anything grain-fed. I don't even
How do you know that they don't eat grains at all? That they eat 100% grass-fed? And why does that even matter?
Because I go directly to the farm where I buy it. It's like half an hour from my house. And it's all grass-fed. It's 100% grass-fed. If I ask the farmer, do you feed them anything but grass? They will say no. But let me get back to my point before, because this is kind of irrelevant to what we were talking about. So a plant does not want to die. A predator, when it approaches a plant, that plant will produce toxic materials that make it taste less palatable to the predator. And not only will it do that, but it will send signals to other nearby plants to do the same thing. So they are trying to survive by doing. You can't say they're not trying to survive.
Well, that's just biological. It doesn't have anything to do with. Do you think that plants can feel pain and that they?
I'm not saying that they can feel pain, but I'm not saying they're not sentient. What is the definition of sentient?
Want me to look it up for you?
I'll look it up right now.
Sentient, able to perceive or feel things. She had been instructed from birth in the.
I'm looking at the same thing right now. So, if the plant knows that a predator is approaching it, something to mitigate
none of this has to do with the ethics of eating animals.
What I'm saying is that everything is sentient. You can't say, "Oh, animals are sentient, and nothing else is sentient," and I'm not killing anything.
Rocks are sentient?
No, because rocks are not producing chemicals.
It's also based off feeling positive and negative experiences, like well-being, right? Like being able to experience life in a positive and negative way. Like humans can experience that way more than a bug can, and a bug can experience that way more than a plant can. Right? Like a plant doesn't know what the hell's going on. How do you know that? They don't have a brain or a nervous system.
What's going on?
Just because something isn't like you doesn't mean that it's not sentient.
Literally, if a creature doesn't have a brain or
a cow is the same as a carrot.
System. 1 second, Logan.
I didn't hear either one of you said.
Okay. Literally, if a creature doesn't possess a brain or central nervous system, that means that they are not sentient. That is scientific fact. It is impossible.
Sentient, though, the definition of sentient right here from Merriam-Webster is.
We can go over sentience, dude. We can go over sentience all you want, but answer this question for me. Do you think that plants are of lesser moral value than animals, equal moral value of animals, or greater moral value than animals?
I think it doesn't matter. That's what I think. I think that's just subject to your own opinion. You could like plants. I'm not avoiding the question. I think that some people might.
You are absolutely avoiding the question. Just answer whether they are of lesser moral value, the same moral value, or greater moral value.
I don't think that there's any difference. They're both sentient.
They aren't. Can you prove that they're sentient?
I just did. They
scientifically, can you pull up a study that says that plants are sentient?
Well, the definition of sentient is able to perceive or feel things. So if a plant is producing chemicals because it knows that a predator is coming, it is able to perceive that predator and it doesn't want to die. So if it's able to perceive, it is sentient. That's the definition of sentience.
Oh my God. Okay, so do you think that plants are of lesser moral value than animals, equal moral value of animals, or greater moral value than animals?
Equal.
So you think that chopping a plant down is the exact same thing as murdering a human? Do you think that people should go to jail for torturing plants?
No. I'm saying it doesn't matter.
If you don't think that it matters, then why are we even going over this?
Because I think it doesn't make any sense to say, oh, it's so bad to kill animals, when first of all, that's your own opinion. And second of all, it's like everything else is sentient that's alive. So like you can't say that you're not consuming sentient beings.
Dude, if you want to go prove that plants are sentient, I'm sure that you'd win a Nobel Peace Prize. But literally, just search it on Google. Plants aren't sentient. That's objective fact.
How is it objective fact? Explain to me that. Because they don't have a central nervous system, because they're not like humans. You're going to say that like...
Because you can't experience sentience if you don't have a brain or central nervous system. Those two things are required to experience sentience. That is scientific
let me ask you this then. Do you think it's okay to eat oysters then?
Do they have a brain or central nervous system?
They don't. Brain or central nervous system. So do you think it's okay to eat them?
I still don't think it's okay because it has sustainability and environmental issues.
Well, when they're farmed, it's actually really sustainable. Just buy a crop of land.
Why is this relevant?
Technically, an animal, I think it's sentient. But do you think that that's sentient or it's not sentient?
Okay, so plants are intelligent. They are not sentient.
That's your own opinion. There's no fact behind that they're not sentient. Sentient, saying that something is sentient is a matter of opinion.
I'm not willing to argue with you anymore if you think that plants are sentient. Like, we're just never going to get past that point. So I think that I'll just go if you actually think that plants have feelings and that they are sentient.
They have feelings. I'm not saying that they don't have feelings. I'm saying we don't know enough about it. You say that they're not sentient.
We know. Do you think that there's a brain and central nervous system somewhere inside of a cucumber?
Central nervous system.
Oh my God.
Something doesn't have the traits that we define as being aware and able to feel. Doesn't mean that it doesn't have it. It's just that it's not as similar to us.
So you don't know if plants are sentient or not?
I'm saying that everything is sentient, and that's my own opinion. You could say that it's not, and that's your own opinion.
It's not an opinion to think that something is sentient. It is fact. It's absolutely scientific fact.
Yeah.
Show me one study.
It's absolutely goofy to think a plant is sentient.
One study. Show me one study.
That's absolutely ludicrous.
Show me one study that says that plants are not sentient, and that's a total fact. One study.
I think that the burden of proof is on you, dude. Scientific consensus actively disagrees with what. Okay, now I'm just being interrupted.
They have thorns.
Go ahead.
Rocks are sharp, and when you touch them, it hurts. So rocks are sentient.
Rocks are not alive. Plants are alive.
Alive doesn't mean sentience, dude.
That's your own opinion.
Even if they were, it would be like the lowest possible level of sentience there is, right?
Who are we as humans to decide what is more sentient than something else?
Who are you to decide that an innocent animal gets to die because you like the way that they taste?
It's not that I like the way that they taste. It's not. It has nothing to do with the way. Dude, raw animal products have literally no taste. If it was because of taste, I would be eating them cooked. I am doing this for health.
Well, you're going
so you think you're adapted
if you
to
keep
something you don't like the taste of? You think you're
Not that I
adapted
don't like
to
the
eating
taste.
something you don't
This is
even like
very
the taste
mild.
of?
Very mild. It's not like, oh, this is gross, and it's not like, oh, this is like the best thing I've ever eaten.
I wonder why.
It's like very indicative of what we're meant to eat. I think that's a different discussion, though.
So if you think that
you
animals and plants are of equal moral value, do you think that somebody should go to jail for torturing a plant? Do you think that it's equivalent to step on a flower as it is to stab a pig in the throat?
I don't think that someone should go to jail for either of them.
Well, that's weird.
Oh, God. So you think it's fine to torture animals?
They're not necessarily being tortured. You see, the stuff that you see of like factory farms, that is not how all animal agriculture works. It's not like every minute.
99%.
I don't need any of that stuff, so that's not relevant to me.
Dude, I've been to these farms myself. I've seen firsthand the way that they are treated on family-owned farms, non-factory farms, and I've seen factory farms. I've seen all of this shit. You have no idea what goes on. No idea. And if you did, then you absolutely would not be supporting these industries. I guarantee you.
You have an idea of what's going on. Of them being slaughtered in a humane way. I mean, that's in my own opinion.
You're also very selfish, though. You're saying I can eat this way, but the rest of the world can't. 99% of meat is from animal agriculture, and you're saying everybody has to eat my way, which is unsustainable, or don't eat anything at all. So you're just being completely selfish in like so many ways right now.
When did I say that no one else can eat that way?
You said nobody in a city should be able to eat grass-fed stuff. It shouldn't be shipped to them. They should be living in the plains with bison.
I didn't say that. I said that you should be eating those and lives in your area. You're just putting words in my mouth.
All right, let me just go over your own study here like really quickly. This will take 10 seconds. The one you sent me about DHA says the rudimentary source of DHA is marine algae. And then later on in the study here, it says everybody should supplement with either a fish oil pill or a DHA, or sorry, an algae supplement. So they're even saying meat eaters should be supplementing with this. When I was a bodybuilder, I was taking fish oil pills. People were telling me you need to supplement with this, just like they're telling vegans they need to supplement with algae pills. I follow a doctor named Dr. Tel Oren. He says people used to live on shores, on beaches in tropical areas and things like that. And there was a lot of sea vegetables that washed up on the shore, and people ate those. And that's where they got DHA from, was a lot of sea vegetables. Those are healthy for you. This study sucks.
First of all, we can't digest the cellulose in sea vegetables. Second of all,
no,
you can't say that they're gonna. Well, seaweed comes up on the coast.
Seaweed.
You know what else comes up on the coast?
Seaweed has DHA.
Seaweed does not have DHA. Seaweed has EPA.
No, well, that's not what this tells me.
Well, that's not factual.
I'm going to end it. I'm going to end this debate with one question. All right.
All right.
Would you be okay with somebody killing and eating you?
I wouldn't want someone to eat me. But does that mean it's
okay?
bad?
Then end of discussion. End of discussion.
Can you let me answer it?
End of discussion.